This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs, like all episodes of Watch Out for Fireballs, is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and specifically Tara Parker, who sponsored this episode. If you'd like to be like Tara, and you would, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Valdis' story, Abyssal City, which is a Metroidvania game developed and published by Endless Fluff for the PC in 2013.
Welcome to March Madness, or Death March, or Spicy March, whatever you want to call this March. Because this is a wacky March. We're starting with two indie Metroidvanias, of which one of which Cole is cooler on and one of which I'm cooler on. And then Ocarina of Time, in which I'm really mad at right now. But we'll eventually find more good things about once it stops fucking trying to get me to care about Gorons.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I
we're
wish
at the
every
exact
Goron
same
was
spot.
dead. I would drown every Goron on this earth if I could. Like, just hold their heads under the water until the bubble stops, and just get them out of my Zelda.
You don't even have to hold them.
Fucking sword.
They're made of rocks. Like, you can just trick them into going into a lake.
I would love to, and they're dumb.
Yeah,
I would love to trick them into going in a lake. Like, hey, there's some tasty rocks down there. But then I would have to do this huge quest to like rescue them or get them the air leaf or some shit, and it would just take another 15 minutes before I got to play the game as I go from room to room asking people who had the air leaf last.
Yeah.
Stuff.
No, I'm looking.
Stop talking to me. Ocarina of Time. So, I keep trying to play you before bed and it's killing me.
that kind of ends up being, to bring this back around to Valdis' story and even X and Verge. Yeah. No. You just we're talking about this month. We don't do conscious theme months anymore, but I think a unifying factor between all of these is that each of these games is more talky than we would like them to be.
Oh, and very much so.
Yeah. And like how much that bothers you is just down to like, are you here for the flavor? So like, I'm not bothered by the talkiness in Axiom Verge because I'm into that world and lore and style and stuff. The talkiness in Valdis' story, I mean, we're going to get to it. They obviously put a lot of care and attention into the lore here. This is a pretty fully thought out kind of world. I'm just kind of not here for their version of angels versus demons.
And to be clear, like I am more, I think so. Just the preview, of things where it's like I'm a little warmer on this than Cole is. I'm cooler on Axiom Verge. I'm not here for the lore of this either.
Gotcha.
Like that should surprise nobody. I'm not here for the lore. I just think it's more fun to play, and they're both genres I think are best when they're quieter.
Yeah.
Like I want a Hollow Knight. I want to feel alone in the world, and neither of these Metroidvanias did that for me.
Yes.
And to the degree that I wanted.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a theme for this month. I would agree. And then also just kind of being, a modern Zelda like isn't that different from a Metroidvania in terms of the rhythm. So there's I've got my fill right now of going on adventures to get items that allow me to open doors to go on more adventures.
Yes.
Okay for a minute.
Yeah. So we're kind of shambolic at the start here, kind of going all over the place. We're also a little bit more negative. Like, don't mistake me. I don't like hate the mechanics of this or anything. It's it ended up kind of being, well, we'll talk about it. There's a lot of fun to be had here.
Yeah, and I also, this is not like my new favorite game of all time or anything.
Yeah. No.
Like this is, I'm a little bit more positive on it, but this is like a 60-40 split kind of thing. Also, just to get this out of the way, part of the reason why we're so shambolic and out of it, or at least for me, is we're recording this right after doing our weekend stream for Bernie. So yesterday I talked for 9 hours, and so now I am, just kind of recombobulating my brain and trying to figure out how to do my job again.
Same here.
After. Which is difficult. But thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who donated.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you.
I'm in all of our community, not just for their generosity, but for the fact that like the chat was fun and positive and hilarious the entire time.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was genuinely nervous, not because of our community, but just because it's such a divisive topic.
Yeah,
drive-bys. Like I was expecting some people to come through and be real jerks, but everybody was like, it felt like a very strong reputation of the like, toxic Bernie bro narrative to me, where like, here's 100 people just hanging out and just everyone's just goofing.
Yes.
Like really, really positive and light spirited goofing. Like there were some jokes made at like Michael Bloomberg's expense, but it wasn't, there was no toxicity.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for being you, and thanks everybody for contributing.
Yeah. We pulled back about $4,200 against an intentionally modest goal of $1,000 for the campaign of one Bernie Sanders. It was great. And also
fun.
Huge special thanks to Nick, who not only hosted but also did a bunch of cool technical stuff. If you go and watch the stream archives or like the clips, you will see that he did like weird texture mods with the help of some other people to make it Bernie themed, to make Dark Souls Bernie themed.
It's very fun. I would recommend watching that if you get a chance, because the thing was fun. We were having a lot of fun, and also it's a very funny mod, and a lot of funny things happened. A lot of those are clips as well. You can find it is entertaining, and if you want to take part in that entertainment and not donate, I am fine.
Yeah,
just go do it. It's already here. Just steal. It's all right. It's the same way like do ROMs. You guys can.
It exists. It's fine.
It exists. Google it. So Valdis story. This episode was produced by Tara Parker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We met them this year at Portland Retro Gaming Expo.
And they made a pretty good case for this game. Kind of explaining like, this is something that I really dig. I'm wondering if you guys have played this, specifically because of our, there's a little bit of Souls DNA here. Insofar as Souls shares some DNA with like Metroidvania, also like the lore kind of stuff going on.
Sure.
And also, we like Metroidvania stuff. So
also in terms of the mystery kind of thing, like there are some hidden mechanics and hidden like event flags that feel very Dark Souls to me in Valdis story. The basic premise of this game is you play as one of a handful of warriors whose ship has sunk when they're like a sky ship, or this surface ship, as they're on their way to defeat some demons. They land in this vast underwater city.
Yes. That is protected by a big dome of mana, so this isn't like Aquaria or something.
Yes. Yep. And they end up in part of this kind of proxy war between for the goddess's original soul. That's also taking place on the surface. There's a lot of lore to this. I read a good amount of it, but I guess this would be a good time to put this here. Big disclaimer: this is a complicated game.
Very.
For an indie game, this is full of detail. There are a lot of those event flags. There are hidden bosses that I only know that I missed because I read about them later. There are lots of little bits I didn't get to.
Yeah.
For one reason or another, either because I had my eye on the prize or because I just missed it because I was trying to just play through naturally.
Yeah.
So this was by no means be exhaustive. Like tons of stuff I missed in this.
Yeah, and also because you are picking between 4 different protagonists, each of which plays differently. And each of which kind of looks at the events of the story from a different angle. That also is going to kind of limit the scope of our approach here. I made an assumption when I put this bullet point here, Gary, but did you also play as Wyatt?
I did play as Wyatt.
Okay. There are 2 characters open to you at the start. One is like flagged, like explicitly stated to be for beginners.
Yes.
The other one is kind of more magic or like stealth based, I think. Like
agility based.
She's an agility based
hero. She's a monk.
Yeah.
And then there is a magic hero. Like there are different, and they all play very differently. They start in different parts of the map. They start out with different Metroidvania abilities.
Yes.
In a way that is extremely cool.
Yeah.
Like this is a very deep game. For the things I like about it and the things I don't like about it, I would never say that it's not deep.
Yeah.
And we are going to skim the surface of those depths.
Yeah.
just as a general kind of disclaimer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we both did this. This is a side-scrolling platformer, and there is a really, really strong emphasis on combat. And I was kind of shocked at how intricate this combat ultimately ended up being.
Yeah, this is ultimately the thing that for me gives us the edge as far as Metroidvania as I played this month.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the combat is very fun.
Yes.
In this, it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like but it is that, you have a light attack, a heavy attack. You have a dodge roll. It's called a cancel dash, and it does cancel out of animations, but it's also a dash.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's also it's also a press down accidentally during a jump to fuck up a platforming section button.
We'll talk about the platform. But you can block. You don't have stamina for block, but you can unlock a parry kind of system in this. It is pretty robust.
Yeah.
In a way that reminds me, obviously the most famous, like, I think Metroidvania with complicated fighting system is Guacamelee.
Yeah.
I like this much more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like closer to a Platinum style character action thing, but as a side scroller, even down to the graded combat.
Yes. Yeah. And that is something that I learned the hard way, is that when you fight a boss, you want to get an A or an S, because that actually gives you extra stat points and things.
We will talk about that.
Yes.
At length. As far as the philosophy of this game, I have a lot of thoughts about that choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also a focus system in this.
Yeah, and I tended to forget about this, although it is really really powerful. It ended up kind of being my oh shit, I need to beat this boss button more than anything. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is, as you deal damage to enemies, you kind of build up a limit break meter. And you activate this by pressing both of your shoulder buttons, and you immediately regain a lot of HP. You attack faster and hit harder. Is the thing, and you can actually decide to either just like ride out the length of the focus mode, or use this really powerful attack called a focus finisher that kind of uses up a big chunk of your meter in order to perform a special feat.
And those feats are cool. Like, it's not just an AOE or what have you, even though there are plenty of those. Like, once I got it, I ultimately ended up using the summon one.
Yeah.
That allowed me to summon a buddy and kind of do co-op, which was really cool. Like, again, it's very imaginative for a 2-person team doing an early Kickstarter success kind of game. Like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It's also one of your only heals. Like, the heal system in this game is very restrictive,
right? Which
again we will talk about. It ties into their magic system in this. There's a pretty robust magic system in this. Throughout the story, you'll find these elemental runes, and these you have 4 different spells that can be attuned to each element, which basically correspond to holding a button and pressing one of the or being in one of a different modes. So if you're standing, jumping, pressing up, or ducking. So if you get the ice element can be used to create platforms for Metroidvania, exploration. It can also shoot an ice bolt. It can shoot an ice bolt at a different angle, etc.
Yeah.
So you have an immense amount of customization in the magic system there.
Yeah, and you're going to want to like mess around with it, specifically because the different straight attacks that you get, that extra angle is really important, especially dealing with particular bosses, whether they're floaty boys or dually boys. Things of that nature. This is a really deep system, and after like an initial 5 minutes of being confused about it, it clicked.
Yeah. This is really good.
Yeah.
And in general, the idea, your Metroidvania upgrades in this, there are very few just straight up keys. There are a few of them. So like the ice platform that you can create is not very useful in combat.
Yeah.
But most of these have a use in combat. So like becoming immune to certain elements can be used in combat, but can also be used to pass by those elements in the game world.
Yes.
And that's a Metroidvania, feather in the cap that both this and Axiom Verge share. We're gonna do a lot of comparison between these two episodes because they're the same genre and we're doing them back to back.
It begs it. They are not directly in conversation with each other.
Yes.
However, they are both indie Metroidvanias that have devoted audiences that were developed by very small teams.
Yep. No.
So
both of them have, I think, a good thing in that, like your Metroidvania stuff, we talked about that when we did Super Metroid even. The best Metroidvania upgrades are not keys. It should never just be like, now you can pass through this kind of door. It should be, you have this cool new verb that allows you to pass by this door, but also allows you to fight better or get around better or do something like that.
Missiles are keys, but they're also missiles.
Exactly. that is key to the good feel of a Metroidvania.
Yes. Something that is kind of important to notice is that this game has been through a few changes since it was first released. One of the major abilities that you assume will be in a Metroidvania game is a double jump. Initially, that was tied to a late game spell that you get. It was like the lightning rune for Wyatt. They took that and they changed it. You can get it much earlier here, but it requires a particular trading item, a particular crafting item. We'll talk about the crafting system when it gets there. So, like, if you are playing this and you're, like, looking around for information like, hey, where do I get the double jump? I see all these places I can't get to. Keep in mind that forum information might be outdated.
Yes. Yeah. And this also can fuck you over. Them switching it into an upgrade means that you can use your crafting material to kind of screw yourself out of a double jump now.
Yeah.
It's unlikely to happen, unless you're upgrading everything. We'll talk about that crafting system. I don't know if you have a bullet point for that, but I want to talk about that for a bit.
I do. But while we're still on the spells, we should talk about the healing. I wish that you just can't rely on it.
Don't you wish this had an Estus?
Yeah, I really do.
Like for all the Dark Souls DNA, it kind of has lives instead of that.
Yeah.
So it's real weird. You get potions that are like crystals and they act as extra lives. You can essentially pretend like they're an Estus that's automatically used when you run out of HP. But your healing options, you have a weak heal and a very weak heal over time. And I was spec'd for light magic. Like I was putting my points and stuff into white magic because of this, because I wanted to be able to heal. So I had armor that enhanced it. I had a weapon that enhanced it. I was working on that, and it still was never an adequate heal.
Yeah.
This is coupled with the fact that any damage over time status effect also drains your MP. So if you get poisoned, you also lose your magic points.
Yeah.
Your magic points slowly regenerate as you hang out outside of combat.
Yeah.
Led to several situations in which I'm fighting a boss, and my choice was like kill. I'm gonna die. Kill myself. And just go for a different rank or press start and quit and retry. Or just kind of stand outside of the boss's range while my MP.
Yeah, no, definitely just like, okay, I'm going to avoid you. I'm going to stick to the corners and I'm going to gather enough crumbs so I can actually like heal myself for 5% of my overall health bar.
And I would do that too, because it's how I play video games.
Right.
But it's not, the people, I think people who really click with this game would argue, hey, that means you're already fucked up. Like, just start over and perfect it.
Yeah.
Because that plays into the grading system of this game and kind of the steez that it wants to go for as far as a Bayonetta style, like, please judge me, senpai.
Yeah.
Kind of video game experience.
Rank me, evaluate me. I'm smart, and ever so good.
I'm smart. I'm ever so good at games. Like, please let me put this on my resume. And for me, like, having that as an option, I'm fine with. This game, I mean, I kind of already started transitioning to this.
That's fine.
So I'm gonna talk about it. This game does something that has a poor get poorer mechanic in it that I think is pretty vile, and it doesn't actually affect the game very much. This is something Tara, who patronized the game, mentioned. They said like, hey, it does that thing where you're graded on bosses. I know you don't like that because I listen to the show. Also, if you get higher grades, you get bigger upgrades that are permanent that you permanently miss out on. And they're like, but actually just playing the game, if you're just playing it on normal, is not that hard. You don't need them. And that's true. Like I got a lot of B's, got some A's, got a lot of B's in this, and was fine throughout the game. And the end boss would have been horrible even if I had gotten aced all the bosses before that. But the idea that like you get a permanent missable upgrade, and they're stat upgrades. It's like the equivalent of like 4 level ups.
Yes,
you can get for acing a boss. And then if you don't, that boss is now gone. You no longer have the chance to do that. Is really sloppy and again like vile to me.
It's hostile at the very least.
I don't like it. Yeah. And again, some grade me, evaluate me. I'm ever so good. Like some people are way into that. And I think if you were going to do that in this, they should have had the ability to retry, like in Death's Gambit.
Yes.
As opposed to the actual intended rhythm is, you fucked up, you press start and then restart the fight or throw the fight on purpose.
Yeah.
It's like really sloppy and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I feel like acing the boss after you beat the boss. It's like playing for score in Guitar Hero versus playing to get through the song.
Yeah.
And
very different things.
Very different things. And those two things don't overlap very well in Valdis' story. Like it's not possible to do one on the way to the other very well. If that makes sense. Like you basically have to start off with the goal of one. And I don't know. I don't think it's very elegant.
Yeah.
You know,
it doesn't match specifically with the way that I want to play. You know, I just like in my head, there ought not be I'm having trouble finding a way to put this into words, but the idea of just like quitting out of a boss run, specifically because I wouldn't succeed in the right way, is not a way that I would naturally play games. And also, you know, bad on me for coming into this with like weird expectations. It's not something that's ever really been asked of me in this kind of game.
No. It's part of the weird hybrid nature of this.
Yeah. And so ultimately what it feels like is a poor get poorer kind of situation. And, you know, me in the way that, like, if I design games, I would design them for babies. It would be, okay, no, if you did badly, you need more character, or you need more avatar skill in order to, or more avatar power in order to offset your character skill. There could be
like flair. Like what if you got like a unique hat?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh, like a chicken hat?
No, I meant when you do good.
Oh yeah,
like you get sunglasses.
Yeah,
you know, you get to wear sunglasses until the next boss. That would be enough. Like grade me, evaluate me. I'm ever so good.
Yeah.
You know, without actually being a meaningful stat upgrade that you arguably don't need. You know, because you know, to your point, like you're actually good at it.
Yeah. So it's a poor get poorer mechanic, and I'm generally against those in games. And it's a pretty big deal, like you said. You know, it's four level ups that you get if you end up, you know, doing really well on some of these.
And it also encourages, you know, when you talk about how it not being the way that traditionally play games, what it meant was an experience I had continuously in Valdis' story, a game where I was enjoying the combat and the bosses in this, where I would barely make it through a boss, which should be an incredibly exciting and awesome feeling, and then have a pop-up give me a C for that. And that's horrible.
Yeah.
Like I just, you know, I don't really care what the game thinks of me. I just want to get through it. But knowing that I was missing out on a permanent upgrade at this thing that was like very exciting and fun for me, and like I, you know, barely made it. And I was like, yes, fuck yeah. And then just that wasn't good. No. You're actually supposed to just flawless it. And if you were getting to the end to learn it and you weren't doing well, the smart thing to do would have been to press start and restart the fight.
Yeah.
Like to me that I don't know, man. Like I just think that like that evidently sucks. It feels like it just comes with the universe. Like your humanity kit when you're born should come with like a little like thing that tells you that sucks. and I can't explain it any more than that. It just feels evident to me. And I know there are people who are fans of it, you know, but I just think if you wanted to serve that audience, you could serve, you know, me at the same time by having that be an optional like rematch mode or something.
Yeah. Additionally, you know, the criteria by which they grade you. So there are 3 things that go into your ultimate grade. There is how many like potions you use. So basically how many extra lives you have to use for this fight. Makes sense. You know, you take damage because you fucked up. Okay. There's the time that it took to defeat the boss. Okay, cool. You know, faster is better than slower. I get it. There's another one that is real amorphous seeming, which is style, which is pretty much like how much did you use blocks and parries and dodges and things like that, like, you know, in order to beat this fight. The requirement for that changes depending on the boss, so they're not going to make you be like, hey, you didn't block enough magic, because you can't do that on this magic style boss. However, that cuts against something that I really want in a game that has this level of avatar customization, which is it specifically is saying, hey, you can express yourself through all these different styles of play, but when you get into the bosses, you're going to be strictly graded on this style of play.
Yeah. And they all work, they balance out between each other.
Mhm.
So sometimes, like most bosses in the back half of the game, when I thought they were hard, I lost multiple lives against. So that is, the reason why I got a lot of Bs was because of that.
Yeah.
I lose several lives. And that they balance out where like you can do well in other, like I parried and parried a lot in this game. I think the parrying is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would get a pretty good style score,
mm-hmm.
like low speed, mediocre speed, low lives, good style score, which balanced out, which got me through the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you're just being judged by that one metric, but the style metric specifically is a little problematic because it depending on the boss fight is either something that is going to sink you or raise up your average.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just feels inelegant to me. Like that feels like a kludgy solution to a not very good system.
Yeah.
Failure of imagination to come up with the best way to do this.
Yeah. And, also just like a philosophical difference. To me, every boss is pass fail. C gets a degree, baby.
Yeah, exactly. C's get degrees. I have an arts and letters degree.
Yeah.
I know that C's get degrees. Like it is fake. I just put in the work.
Right.
I check the boxes.
Yeah. So like we said, you can get some of those, stat points and things like that. There is character progression in this, through experience points and things like that. There are 4 stats. What is it? It's strength,
agility, magic, and luck.
Yes.
Or int and luck.
Int and luck. Yeah. And each level up, you get, 1 point to put into those. You're only going to level up 20 times. There's the level cap on there, or 19 times. So that actually does really matter where you put those. Additionally, you get a point for a skill tree, to invest in. And this is a very wide, skill tree with lots of like dependencies in between the different nodes. And you have a lot of room for customization here. So you went with like light magic and stuff like that for Wyatt, right?
No. I mean, I did when I put points. So they're set up into 3. Every character has them set up in 3 spheres.
Yeah.
For Wyatt, his is like offense, defense, and magic.
Mm-hmm.
But they're different for the other characters.
Yeah.
The points I did put into magic, I put towards white magic. I mostly spec'd gear for white magic.
Yeah.
For my offensive, I mostly just did strong attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Because strong attacks break guards.
Yes.
And that ended up being very important. So I put points into things that would increase the speed and damage of my strong attacks.
Yeah.
Generally. And then also a bunch of stuff into defense. I got the parry, got things like that.
Yeah.
So I was kind of all over the place as far as the skill tree went.
Yeah, same. Me, I did a few of the like strong attacks, specifically the ones that would, speed them up. Was a thing. But for my Wyatt, I end up using basically anything that caused bleed, because I noticed that damage over time was like the difference between me winning and losing difficult fights.
Yeah, damage over time is very powerful.
Yeah.
In this.
Yep.
The way that weapons and armor work in this game is they're not necessarily upgrades. They're more like side grades.
Yes.
You have a base weapon, which you can upgrade. But you can also find weapons that have different kind of move sets and styles that you can upgrade. And then you have armor that give you different kind of stat buffs at cost of different detriments.
Yeah.
And they can all be upgraded. We're going to talk about the absolute trash fire that is the crafting system here in a moment. As far as weapons go, though, I was pretty into the variety of like qualities they had. So I ended up using twin blades that were white magic aligned. So they boosted my white magic. And then they had a property that gave them extra like air combo ability.
Oh, huh.
So if I could jump up onto someone, or like float, I think is what it's called. So as far as I could tell, and who knows, because this game has a real bad signaling problem. Put a pin in that for 1 second because it's about stats. I want to talk about that in a moment. I would jump up and just kind of air combo things and float for a long time.
You would fight like Sephiroth and Cloud in Advent Children.
Yes. It was like one Sephiroth versus like a ground-based Cloud, or a Fog, if you will.
Yeah.
But the stat thing I wanted to mention real quick too is because there's some real bad signaling in this game. Like strength is explained pretty well.
Yeah.
Luck is pretty poorly explained down to so I was talking to Will of Everything to Guppy, who is a big fan of this game.
Gary's friend?
And he was Gary's friend, Will. And he was saying that one of the things you need to know about this game, he told me after I beat it. So he wasn't doing it on purpose, but it was too late to be helpful. He's like, get to 5 luck. And the reason why you want to get to 5 luck is because it juices the crafting system because you just won't want for components. But also, and this drives me up the fucking wall, there's a currency that only drops once you get to a certain amount of luck. And that currency is used for a bunch of the trainers in the game.
Yeah.
So I kept running into people who were asking for ancient coins, and I was like, I haven't found one of those yet. And then I was getting further and further in the game. I'm like, I have not found an ancient coin. What the fuck is this? And then they only drop if you have a certain amount of luck, and that is at no point communicated to you. I was going for like a simple martial build, so I was putting a lot of points into strength, which is HP and damage. And I was just like, man, I'm 80% through this game, and I just realized I'm just now finding out that like there's a currency I'm missing because it's tied to a stat, and they didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Like there's a signaling problem in this game pretty intensely. Like it does not onboard you.
No. And there's also just like interface concerns that I feel like if this was a bigger team or they had somebody specifically who knew how to work this, it might not actually be a problem. But when you talk with an NPC and like initiate any kind of trade, it's very unclear. Like, this is a trainer. This is somebody who is selling you like a permanent upgrade. This is somebody who is selling you gear. This is somebody who is crafting something for you.
I have no idea what's like.
It's just way too many icons is the thing of it.
Yeah, I sent Will a message. I was like, hey, can you explain the economy of Valdis story to me?
Yeah.
Because it does not explain itself very well.
Right.
I have a very rudimentary understanding of it, having gone through the game, but it's tied into this crafting system.
Yeah.
That I think is absolutely dire. Personally.
Yeah.
Enemies will drop and you will find low level crafting materials. There is a guy in town who will upgrade those crafting materials at like a 5-to-1 rate. Generally. So like plain cloth turns into processed cloth. And then there is a cost, like there's no money in the game other than those coins, which I didn't get.
Right.
The cost for anything you're doing is just the crafting materials. So when you run into a merchant, they'll say, hey, do you want this sword? The sword will have a bunch of stats you don't understand and ask for a bunch of icons you don't understand.
Yeah.
And it does nothing to like teach you about this.
Yeah. And when like, okay, I'm going to open up my inventory, like see how many more of these things do I need? And when you go and look at it, so each of these items considered to be a different kind of currency. It's like a gigantic 10 by 15 grid of all of these icons with that only show a name when you highlight over them and how many of them you have.
And there's no understanding as to what is rare.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can kind of infer it, like, a big soul of an angel will be more rare than a medium soul or whatever name angel, something like that. But like in general, the idea between like a plain cloth and a soft cloth or whatever, I can't remember the exact words, but a lot of times it's very hard to tell the hierarchy of these individual items. And knowing what I had was very frustrating. I didn't know if it was a thing where like, they're only asking for one of those. Is that a thing I'm going to get from a specific boss? And I'm going to have to treat it like a boss soul and Dark Souls where like, that's an opportunity cost. So basically like I upgraded things when I could and didn't worry about this.
Same.
And got through it, but I was missing out on a huge system of the game that, again, the Watch Out for Fireballs observation of 2019 has huge impact on the world state, especially in a Metroidvania.
Yes.
Because me getting a new upgrade and being able to go check out a nook or a cranny that I couldn't get before should be a cause for joy. And in this game, I find a piece of silk. In Axiom Verge, I find 1/6 of a damage upgrade. Both suck the stars from the sky. Like, give me something cooler for this Metroidvania exploration, please. It has been figured out. Games do it well all the time. It sucks in this game and it sucks in the next game.
Yes.
Like,
so
stop doing that.
Like the economy, like I understand that there is joy in figuring out the complexity. But that is a matter of like high ceiling versus where the floor ought necessarily be in order for you not to feel completely alienated by it, or shut out of entire systems within the game. Let alone the fact that like in any game where an economy is in place, it touches every single aspect of it outside of like maybe the narrative, but sometimes even that.
Yeah.
So like it's really, really important, it's an important value that it be clearly communicated, and it's just not here. And though I ultimately figured out what I needed to do to accomplish what I what I wanted to, still, like, there's not a lot of joy in there would be more joy in naturally working up to it, as opposed to after 10 hours in saying, all right, I'm going to go look this up in a wiki and see which enemies I need to kill to bring to this particular person to trade for, to trade the horseshoe in for the knight to get the king or what have you. But,
yeah. And even then, the upgrades you're getting are hard to get excited about, even if they do end up being significant. Like there's a modest amount for every weapon. I think each weapon has 3 levels. And they do make a difference.
Yeah.
But it is not the night and day difference that the system's engagement feels like it should justify.
Yeah.
And it's like a weird balancing factor in that, like, yes, the argument is that you don't need to optimize to play. Right? Like, that is true. Like, I wasn't screwed, and it would be worse if I was screwed for not engaging with this system that was hostile and inscrutable. But it would be better if I could just engage with it and have fun with it. Like, something not hurting is not the same thing as it being good.
Yeah. Additionally, like, yes, it wasn't necessary, but it still made a real difference.
Yeah.
Like hitting your head against a boss, like, man, I can't nail this thing. I have no idea. Like, I have nothing to counter his attacks with, or nothing to like help me get around that. Like, there are upgrades you can get. You can, go to a particular town, have them craft or upgrade a particular, set of armor, etc. And you go back and feel like that's the difference between beating it and not. So you could either invest more time and frustration into dealing with the boss itself, or you could go and make that upgrade. And like, okay, so what do I have to do to make that upgrade? Is it just something that I naturally understand over the course of playing this game because the game like signals me into engaging with that system? Or is it something that I have to dip outside of the game in order to understand?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next bullet point, can we talk about game feel and platforming?
Yes.
A little bit, because platforming is a big part of this game.
Yeah.
And this is something where I think that, just to stop harping on it for a moment, I don't think that the way this game feels is good. I think that it ultimately conformed into my hands to where I changed. It basically made me like it eventually. And now I like the way this feels a lot.
Yeah.
It took a while though, because how in Metal Gear Solid 2, you're constantly laying down on accident. I'll just lay down. Oh shit, I'm on the ground. Fuck, how did that happen? I'm rolling around in my belly.
Yeah.
In this game, accidental mantling
is
a huge problem in a way that would never happen in real life.
Mantling is it seems like a conscious decision you would have to make. Mantling is real sticky. It's real sticky and real snappy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the game is very zoomed in. You play a little chubby guy. It is everything is really chonky and blocky. And your jump arc is relatively small, even once you get the double jump.
Yeah.
That you have. And you don't have tons of control over it. The jump feels weird.
Yeah.
It's not the jump isn't snappy. So ultimately I ended up liking the way that this felt moving around.
Yeah.
I got to where I could just zoom through levels, and it felt really good, even to backtrack. It took a long time.
Yeah.
Which to me makes it feel like it almost feels like it's from another world with a different set of antecedents. Because it obviously works, but it does so many things you wouldn't assume that a game would do as far as this, just in terms of feel. So the snappy mantling, the general low bump of the jump arc, that you have.
The jump is a real it's a real strange combination of kind of not being very powerful, but also being very floaty. You don't go very high, but when you're in the air, it does. Your trajectory is not what you would expect.
Yeah, a hang time.
Yeah.
In it. And that plays into the mantling, where you, a lot of the jumps are made for that. It is, but it's something that I think a lot of people bounce off of this game. And if you listen to this episode and you're like, this sounds like my thing, I'd like to try it. My advice is if it sounds like something you might like, give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
because eventually I grew to like this. It's not welcoming, though. I don't think it doesn't feel very good in the hands at first.
Yeah, it requires an investment, but it's not a deal breaker. Is the thing. I really enjoy when the level design is in harmony with exactly the way that the jumping and stuff works, jumping and mantling specifically. There are some times, especially later on in the game, where the platforming mix-em-ups or the mix-em-up of traps and enemies with the particular kind of stuff, with the particular jump set that you have, leads to a lot of failure that didn't feel like it was necessarily my fault. And that is when the system and the level design get out of harmony, and it becomes frustrating again, even when you feel like you have mastered it. Additionally, like, this game kind of expects you to internalize that there is a difference between jumping out of mantling, jumping out of a wall jump, like a wall kick kind of thing, or from a mantle, just pressing the opposite direction of where you're holding on to do like a smaller jump that is meant to get up to another mantle point. So like, you're not going to be pressing the jump button to go up like some of these narrow columns. Like, you're going to just be pressing left and right to do this like little like half jump from mantle to mantle. And there is like one dungeon in the back third of this game that, like, if you don't learn that technique or if you don't learn that distinction, you will die to the level more so than anything else that might be attacking you.
Any bosses, yeah. The platforming has a goodly amount of just death that happens in it, which I'm not crazy about. In this, the platforming also contains something that is one of the primary verbs of Valdis' story. Like, it is amazing that I like this game as much as I do, because it is something I hate in video games, which is you click the button and a clock starts ticking, and then you have to accomplish a series of tasks in time before a door closes.
Yeah.
That feels like that is roughly 1/4 of this game by volume.
So it's weird because like most of the levels you can just kind of traipse through them. You know, it's not often that one of these time doors is actually blocking the critical path. Like, it feels like you are skipping things if you do not engage with the levels in this particular way, because a lot of the rooms, a lot of the chambers are these little challenge runs that it expects you to do.
Well, and I don't, just because something is optional, just because something is optional doesn't mean that it is psychologically optional, or that it's.
I knew when I opened that I would just get some shit. When I opened the chest at the end of this, I would just get some shitty feather. I knew that's what was waiting for me, but I was still attempting to shave seconds off like this particular run up these platforms.
And sometimes I didn't know. And when you're first playing the game for the first several hours, like, yes, now I know that I'm just going to get some shitty feather. Early on, though, I didn't know how necessary those upgrades were going to be, whether they were going to be critical path things. Like, there's a signaling problem to that. So, like, in general, I don't think it's a really good answer to something being bad when someone's like, you can skip it.
No.
Like, yes, these tend to be ignorable, but you don't know that going into it. And that's important. And maybe they're ignorable, but they would make a big difference, and they'd be the difference between 5 attempts on this boss versus 10. And that's ignorable, but like, maybe worth my time to do this task that I think is pretty odious. It also has a huge problem with signaling, because there are several of these that you are incapable of doing when you run into them. You have to come back with a Metroid upgrade that's not obvious. So like, the timing of this is not possible without, multiple dashes, dash cancels, or without the double jump. Or something, but you don't know that, and they're not like, it's hard for me to explain how much these things suck, because it's not just like, hey, click a button and get to this door at a time. A lot of times you're clicking a button that leads to a door that has another button, that leads to a door that has another button, that leads to a door that has another button, and all of these are on individual timers, where you have to, like, any point in this, you're just the punishment is start over this whole fucking annoying thing. And it is every fourth room has one of these. They are very frequent in this game. And I hate them. It's like one of my least favorite things that happen in video games. It's not like Valdis' story has the market cornered on them.
No.
I just think that this is a shitty, don't test how fast I can do an agility thing. Just make the agility thing hard and test if I can do it.
Yes.
it drives me nuts. And there's so fucking many of them, and they interface with the platforming and those little platforming tricks we were talking about most. So
yeah,
I wanted to make sure I got in a point about those at some point around now.
Yeah. And it's weird because, again, like it doesn't feel integrated. I know that's my watchword, or it's the meaningless buzzword that I usually use. Like, very obviously, the care and love in this game went into the combat and went into, just going toe to toe, specifically with the big bosses,
Yeah.
kind of like even like to the detriment of like, stage to stage enemies. There's some good mix-ups in there, and we'll talk about them. But like I don't know if that's the thing, if that's the system that you put the love in, and that's the one that you're most kind of like confident in. Don't also have, hey, we have the challenging platforming here. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weirdly like a problem of focus. I don't know.
Yes, agreed. Like it doesn't play into the game's strengths very much, and it's a big part of the game by volume.
Yeah.
As you're going through one of the other collectibles in the world, so you can get some kind of shitty feather, you can also get your crew of anime misfits who are hiding around the world, who are returned to your home base. These will either be merchants, they will be flavor text, or you can buy them to assists and different things. A lot of these were designed by Kickstarter backers.
Yes.
So if they seem like a crew of anime misfits, that's what they are, because they're created by Kickstarter backers.
Yeah.
So
it's weird. Like it was tough because I'm thinking, okay, does this actually work? Because we talked about the problem of including Kickstarter backer content in the body of a game, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about that, and like, okay, you've got these goofy designs. Some of them are pretty serious, and it seems like they fit. But then you also have somebody named Shadow Boxer,
yeah,
or just like very, very, very goofy kind of folks. Like, does this work? And I'm torn.
Got some real fan fiction OCs.
Yeah,
going on.
And I'm real torn because like I want to say, oh, it's fine because this isn't a very serious game. No, this game is very self-serious.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious game.
but also like they don't clash with the aesthetic so much, and additionally because you're not from this city where all the serious stuff is taking place, the idea that you have literally fallen in here from another world, and like these are the people who were on a ship full of just like mercenaries, it kind of does end up like not clashing. I guess this is just a roundabout way of me justifying why this didn't bother me as much as it ought to have.
Like these people didn't bother me either because they were all in the bucket of story stuff I was largely ignoring.
Right.
I started reading, was pretty not invested, but I was giving it a shot.
Yeah.
In the story stuff, and ultimately this ended up losing me a lot in terms of like tone and dialogue.
Yeah.
With this, it's the various misfits you can find, the anime misfits, like it's a trope. This group of mercenaries that have a name and a gimmick and one personality trait. That is more that what I was remarking about.
Yeah.
Like the guy who looks like a Michael Jackson cosplayer is the guy I ended up using a lot.
Yeah. And
like every time I'd go and talk to him in the home base, he would just be like, I don't know if I want to be around all these people. And I was like, somebody just created, this is such a self-insert Kickstarter character. Like, this is driving me nuts. Like, some misfit gave a lot of money to this Kickstarter and put in a Michael Jackson impersonator.
Weird.
So I don't know. Super weird. It's fine. But it is, it ends up being, just by virtue of the rest of the game's economy, being a pretty meaningful collectible.
Yeah.
Just because the game is pretty starved for meaningful collectibles.
Yes. What the game is not starved for is good bosses.
Yeah, the bosses in this are great.
Yeah, like a good amount of variety. Most of them have some kind of gimmick or hook to them. They end up doing something, a little bit like Death's Gambit, actually, where the kind of secondary meter that is associated with them, like what would be a stamina bar, kind of creates different conditions within the fight itself. Yeah, these are really good, and I'm really looking forward to getting here and talking about them.
Yeah, it's surprisingly robust and good for the genre. There's a couple gimmicks in there that get repeated.
Yes,
a few too many times. Like I think that the game kind of relies a few too many times on adding regular enemies.
Yeah.
To a boss fight. But in general, these are really fun, and I had a lot of fun with them. I had that experience of like dying and then eventually getting to where I was like doing it. I figured this out. They're fair. They're fair and good and varied. They have the right number of phases, the right number of attacks. I feel like these are balanced really well to be good.
Yeah. If I was fighting a boss, I was generally having a good time until it came back and said B-.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I did that's pretty good. I need B-. Leave me alone. Fucking bully. The world is really large, and there is no real fast travel. There is a set of gondola kind of things, trams between the 3 major towns.
Yeah.
This ends up being annoying to me. Just because, I like fast travel, and it ended up discouraging backtracking for me. This also plays into a system in this that Will told me about, and I didn't engage with it, and you did not engage with it. So I assume I just want to mention it for people who are fans of the game. There is a hat system in this game where there is a hidden merchant.
Yeah, I found this person, but nothing seemed worth it.
Well, the trick is, and I don't know how much you looked into this, but if prepare to have your blood pressure raise a point. These hats give you upgrades, but any attack can knock them off, and you lose the hat. So like hat runs of this game are a thing in the meta of people who have this. But if Will, who with all the best, I love Will, but he has that like grade me thing in terms of games. He doesn't want to do this challenge.
Yeah,
like he is too annoyed by this horse shit. My understanding is the gondola stuff is part of that to like let you avoid certain areas that are particularly very tough.
Yeah,
and avoid certain kind of bosses to maintain your hat. Is again according to Will. So if that's not correct, feel free to correct us, but don't be mean about it, because I might be misquoting Will, and I also could be just wrong. But that is my understanding.
Yeah, that's not what I play games for. I
what up with that?
I almost what up with that? I almost feel like I can't comment on it besides saying that like that's a choice. Like that, that says something about what these developers expected people to engage with in the game, and like, oh, that's not for me. Like, what else am I clanging against here that also was not for me? It
seems pretty vile. To me, I didn't mess with it, but it seems pretty vile. And again, it can be vile and it can be optional, but that is not the same thing as just like doesn't exist in the game.
And by vile, you just mean like hostile to 99% of the people who are going to play the game. Just
kind of a needlessly like, I can get this cool bonus, but if so, I can't get hit. And it has a chance of knocking off the hat. It doesn't automatically doing it. That just sounds very frustrating to me. So.
It seems like it would be like a fast way to make me not play the game if I was trying to do that, or if it required that. The game was designed to be replayed several times. Like this, like there's a lot here, even outside of the hat runs, for people who, to dedicate time to trying to do it. So there are 2 characters that open at the start. There are 4 total that ultimately open up. Kind of, they have different play styles. Like you said, they start in different places. They have different movesets, different spells, kind of that are unlocked at the start. And each of the different characters kind of emphasizes one of the different stats. So like the last one is like a demon lady whose main stat is luck. And she's all about like mobility and things like that.
And the secondary character is more mobile. The third character uses a gun. So they're pretty different. They have different tech trees. Different ability trees and stuff. So that is a cool feature.
Yes.
I played through the game as Wyatt. I started a game with the other characters just to check them out, but I didn't get very far. But it is neat. Like they do feel very different, and I think that's awesome. I think that like, that is a good choice. So let's talk about how this game looks.
They made a choice.
It's so weird to me, right? Like, so there's like 3 different elements of this that are in conflict to me. Like there's the actual design of the bosses and characters and critters and stuff, which I don't particularly like. Like there's like a weird how to draw anime the anime way. Wyatt, the little like eyeshadow, bare chested, My Chemical Romance kid.
Puffy collar.
Puffy collar is like pretty annoying to me. I don't like the way those look. I do like the way that everything is kind of blocky.
Yeah.
and chunky. Like the levels seem like they're made of kind of thick, thick bits. The enemies are thick in a way that I like.
I mean, like there's a certain kind of Mega Man-ness to this, or like a certain kind of SNES, like a higher,
squat.
higher res squat, super deformed. Not chibi, because there's very little that's actually like cute, but just like a squat, super deformed, like SNES kind of aesthetic to this that I am here for.
Yes, the proportions are good to me.
Yeah.
One of the things that is the biggest issues for me, though, or biggest issue, is that everything is kind of like diffuse and particle effecty in terms of like special effects, like energy effects and such on attacks, in a way that directly obscures a lot of the action.
Yeah.
In a way that's the exact opposite of what you want, and compared to something like Beautiful Joe.
Yeah.
Which is cell shaded but very clean. Like there's a very clear demarcation between Beautiful Joe's little fist and the thing he's hitting. Here things move so quickly, and there's so many like particles flying around, just diffuse shaders flying everywhere, that it becomes pretty tricky to get a handle on things. Like not impossible, but there's an element of like Blood-Starved Beast to these things, to these fights sometimes, and these bits of combat.
Yeah, it ends up getting in the way of reading boss attacks. Which for a game that requires as much precision as this does, the visual design is working at cross purposes with, again, the combat system. Yeah, or at least what they're how well they're expecting you to engage with the combat system. Yeah.
It's nothing in this looks that cool to me. Like I don't know what the bosses that are fun. The ones that I think look the coolest were like chunky robots. Yeah, because I like an obese robot. Other than that though, like boy, this is all right. Yeah, this is not great.
I think the environments look good. I like the different stages and stuff, and also like this is a colorful game.
It's very colorful.
For as serious as kind of like the tenor and tone of the story is, they could have desaturated this, and I think that would have been detrimental. At the very least, like they have a really strong theory of, this level is about this, and we're going to color it this way, which I think is good and necessary.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, would totally agree. The story of this. The story and talkiness of this. This is a significantly talky game. In general, like there are some backstory bits of this that are kind of neat. Yeah. Like there's a character in your hub who has a menu mark called lore, and you can click on that and get character backstories and stuff. And sometimes they're all right, like little paragraphs, but in terms of like just the dialogue or like coming in and talking to a character and them, Wyatt saying some kind of badass, like angels, demons, doesn't matter. You're all just rust on my blade.
You gotta kill them all.
There's kill them all. There's a lot of that stuff. And I was like, this is not good dialogue, and I'm not invested in this.
Yeah.
Personally.
It ends up trying to be a little bit more, more brutal than I think it benefits from being. Additionally, like I said, a lot of work and care has gone into setting up like what are angels in this world, what are demons in this world, and I don't know. There's like that, there's a moment of jumping into a new story and feeling disoriented because you're not exactly sure, like even what the words mean.
What the proper nouns mean.
Yeah. And like, I understand that like that is, a desirable thing, for a lot of people, sometimes for me as well. But I think that like the way that you put that in front of somebody and the way that you onboard them to the story actually really does matter. And so I jumped into this, and the prevailing feeling was like, was there a lore booklet that I didn't read about this? Yeah. Just do you like about the conflict that is going on, about why somebody like Wyatt or these people would equally want to kill angels and demons as they, as they go through the city trying to get out of it. So it just, I kind of went into it feeling alienated as opposed to like invited in to engage more with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, and we're not outside of the market for wanting to be dumped into a hostile world where we don't know anything.
Right.
Like we are specifically in that market.
Yeah, right.
Firmly in that market, but the articulation matters a lot.
Yeah.
And then ultimately what it ends up being matters a lot. Like there's a twist at the end of this story that I think in a vacuum is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason why this is bad, the idea, that the angels are just another flavor of bad and that they're evil too, and the idea of this mother creating these two children and one of which is dedicated to evil. And it's like, of course they betrayed me, but I got help from the good one because of power reasons and stuff.
Right.
Is fine as a sentence, and as something that is articulated ultimately ended up like boring me quite a bit during the game. Like people talking about that and laying the groundwork for the impact of that were breadcrumbs I did not want to pick up. Partly because and partly for good reasons, because I was enjoying the play. Like I didn't want to talk to these fucking Gorons. I wanted to go out and swing my sword. Let me go out and do this like movement through the levels and let me fight the next boss.
Right.
But every boss has this monologue in front of them that I'm like, I just don't care. Like I don't, I felt like the game did not do the work or either was just not the type of story that I was ever going to be very interested in.
Yeah. There's an element of, there's an element of show don't tell to this as well. Just in terms of like, okay, so the angels are really bad specifically because they strip people of their souls, basically, in order to power, the upper echelons. Like every angel that is here is a result of somebody who had this atrocity committed to them. And you never really see that. You never see them down here like hunting the humans or like really, really fucking up some demons in a way that would appall you, even if you were inclined to be on the angels' sides. Pretty much every angel and demon that you see is just kind of moving left or right in a combat area to be killed. Or, like you learn about this little detail when Wyatt says, "Oh, where'd you get that power? Did you take a soul from somebody?" It's like, just a real unsatisfying breach of show don't tell. And I'm, on some level that is probably, a resource problem again.
Sure.
But the words are cheap, and the words are cheap and are a disservice to the cool idea behind it. There's a higher value, a higher impact way to get it across.
Yeah, which I think can be extended to this whole month.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like the words are cheap and there is a cooler way to get across what you're trying to get across.
Yeah.
In multiple different axes. Like that is the theme of March Madness Death March. For me, even though I ultimately like this game. The music is pretty good.
Yep.
In the game. It's not astounding or anything, but it's pleasant. And it's kind of an interesting game because it is an early Kickstarter success story.
Yes.
They set up just an original goal of $8,000.
That doesn't seem like enough to make a game.
Definitely not enough to make this game.
Right.
But ultimately they made more than 50,000, which is good, and this is a modest product. Like I love a modest product.
Yep.
$50,000 game can be very good. And I am into the idea of this, like basically 2-man team, two people, Carolyn and Kyron. Karen, Kyron, Kyron. I don't know.
Karos.
Karis.
No. I was just saying the name of the God King from Tyranny.
Saying in Japan it's actually Karith. But it's pretty impressive in that respect. Like it has it's really telling. I think that the way to make this game better to my mind would have been to take things out of it.
Yeah.
It's not things that are in it being bad.
Right.
Like you'd edit this down to something really good.
You'd edit it down. You would really play up the boss fights. You would play up, combat. Would be what you would do. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the only real outsourcing that they did was for music and sound. Like they actually hired a composer for the first time, which benefited, I believe. And like otherwise it was just this really modest product by a modest team. And we already talked about the Kickstarter crew reward that happened there.
It means even though very small team, but the credits go on forever because they list every Kickstarter backer.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it. So there's some front matter here for the opening. We get, some of the backstory here in this prologue. The mother of Valdis gave birth to this goddess of light and this goddess of dark. But the goddess of dark killed the mother in their home city of Sithel. And this kind of resulting conflict caused the city to sink beneath the sea. Sithel is the name of the city that we're in.
Yep. And before we begin, we pick our character. There are only two types. There are only two characters initially. So Wyatt is the normal melee-based strength character.
Yes.
So then probably a good choice for a first playthrough.
Yeah, at least from a durability standpoint.
It starts off, part of the other reason I think that this game has that kind of off-boarding problem with the plot is because we start off in this world and with this crew that we are filled in on their story on that world entirely in the past tense.
Yes.
And set into a new paradigm. But I did not feel like I got a very good sense of the surface.
Yeah.
In this game.
Like they're in the middle of another quest. This would be DLC for a different game.
Quest.
Yeah.
This is DLC for a different game. Like this is chapter 4 of Baldur's Gate 2, but only chapter 4. Because you're on a ship. You're searching for a warlord. We're later going to find out that this is why it's searching for his father.
Yeah.
But this huge demonic whale capsizes their ship.
Yeah.
And everyone falls down through the water. And Wyatt is waking up. He's in this like white void, and he is asked what he truly wants: to destroy the false gods. He's asked what he truly wants. He says to destroy the false gods, their demons and angels, so humanity can be free.
Yes, is kind of what he is. Hey, like Wyatt is pretty much just like, what are you rebelling against? What do you got?
What do you got?
Yeah.
Like Google image search some Wyatt, folks. I have a real hard time with Wyatt and how he doesn't wear a shirt. I think he's got really big like Anthony Kiedis vibes during this. Yeah. Like, do you want to kill all the gods? Yeah. Yeah. And then you have to go gather Flea and John Frusciante.
Yeah, all of the peppers are scattered over Sithel.
All the step peppers.
Yeah.
All the pepper men.
Wait, this sock is Flea's sock. I can tell by the size.
You could upgrade it to Anthony Kiedis' sock at a merchant. If you got 15 of Flea's socks. Yeah.
Man.
He needs to put on a fucking shirt though. His weird like shaved bare chest during this whole thing drove me nuts. Like all the cutscenes of him pouting. With his chest hanging out. I'm like, my dude.
Yeah, it's
wear clothes.
Again, it's a choice. But we get these opening credits as the warriors fall through the sea, sinking into the city, and you wake up in the Tagrum district, separated from Reyna, most importantly for Wyatt, but also the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the Tagrum district, part of this too, I don't think anything has a cool name.
Yeah.
And I know that's like a really petty complaint. But there needs to. I wish that things were named a little bit better.
There are certain sounds or phonemes that are considered to be cool and uncool, and if it says grum, that's one of the uncool phonemes.
Pretending to some grum.
Yeah.
And then grum, the Tagrum. I kept thinking tardigrade.
That'd be great. Tardigrade's rule.
I would go to the tardigrade district.
Yeah.
Feed us. Gotta go.
You must travel to the land of the rotifers. No.
The under the bridge, the tardigrade district. So you're here, and as you land, this cloaked woman greets you at the door and warns you, you and all of humanity, to stay out of the Dark Lady's domain. Kind of introducing these undersea factions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody is just kind of like fighting for land in this doomed city beneath a mana bubble. And we kind of get our feet under us by going through this easy combat zone. There are, just kind of basic demon enemies here, running around with cloaks. They've got sword fighters and ranged fighters that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. You're kind of introduced to the basic mechanics here. Parrying is something that's on the skill tree, but you can block. You have unlimited block, and you have attacks.
And this is huge thing. Remap the block if you're playing this. Remap it from the B button up to the right bumper.
Yeah. You can remap that. Remapping the controls was not originally, part of the game.
Oh,
you also are going to want to be able to remap your dash in this, because it used to be like a double down tap kind of thing.
Yeah.
They added that into the game.
Okay.
So you can make this feel however you like.
Yes. Cool.
Which I recommend.
Yeah. You're just required to like, kind of like Sekiro, mix blocks into your combos in a way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But we end up fighting this large ogre enemy, who guards himself and attacks with a huge flail. This is kind of introducing, hey, you got to get around behind these guys.
Well, and the way you get around behind them too is worth noting. Is your dashes, your cancels here are a limited thing.
Yeah.
In this game, you pick up a power up that gives you more of these you can use on with a cooldown before there's a cooldown for them. So it's not like, even though you don't have stamina, you do have a certain like a cooldown for your cancel. Yeah. Your dash cancel kind of thing. So that's worth noting in terms of getting behind stuff. Like you can't just spam that.
Yeah.
So there's a spell blocking the way getting out of here. This is one of the other kind of gameplay tropes that I dislike, where you have to kill all the enemies in a room before you can leave. Yep. And this woman in green named Adeline commends you for beating the ogre, even though you are a mere human.
Right.
She says you're with the angels, but neither the angels nor demons are welcome there.
Right. Because she is from Tagrum, the city of humans.
Yep. And you're like, I'm not with the angels.
Yeah. I'm also not necessarily human. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But you end up following her inside for a little ways, but then she starts doing these wall jumps that you cannot do. So you have to proceed downward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get the first time that you're able to do the dash to do the cancel is when you find a master scroll down here. Mm-hmm. By a demon locked door. That is one of the ways they gate things is with actual keys. We're going to come back here with a demon key later on.
Yep. There are like 4 or 5 keys in the game.
Yeah.
That you get. This allows you not only to do those things, but it also allows you to do a butt stomp, which will allow you to open doors that are blocked by these floor buttons. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of Wario stomp to open them.
Yes.
We get a save room after this, so there's like a statue.
I wish there were more of these. I know that's me wishing for the game to be easier, but yeah.
Yeah, I would not mind there being more saves.
Same.
Luckily, when you die, you don't have to reload. You can just click retry.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Mm-hmm. But I would still like more opportunities to be able to save and go about my day.
Yeah.
There's another encounter with Adeline here. She's having this confrontation with this demon-looking samurai fellow named Azudor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And we fight Azudor.
Yeah, this is our first boss.
Yep.
And it's just like it's pretty basic, as you would expect at this point. He has got like a regular set of combos, and he will try to get above you, and kind of get up and start sending down these fireballs. And this is the first of the bosses, first of many bosses, who will like get out of reach and summon regular goons to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And kind of real basic. Like the bosses get better.
Yeah.
From here on in, but this is still fine.
Mm-hmm.
Messing with the platforms and stuff here. Once you beat him, he gets away. You're gonna have to fight him again.
Yeah.
And these large white feathered demon monsters appear.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt, instead of fighting them, Wyatt grabs Adeline and rushes her to safety.
Right.
And this is how we've won Adeline and Tagrum's trust.
Mm-hmm. By killing a demon in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't like demons. Yeah. Adeline explains that the beasts we ran into are this 4th class of things, ferals.
Yes.
So we're now dealing with 4 factions, plus the weird 5th one that the Wyatt's kind of part of. But it's ferals, angels, demons, and humans.
Yes. And the ferals are kind of a mystery because there does not seem to be an organizing force. We're going to find out what that is later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where you're running into, just because it bothered me in the game, I want to mention it. Where I started getting frustrated with Wyatt as a character, where his just like pretended to some grum, acting the tough, like was driving me nuts, where she would be like, "Oh, thank you for saving me." Be like, ... I don't care. I just need to find my crew. ... And I'm like, man, shut up with your anime nonsense. Like, stick that in a fucking sack.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm just only here for one thing. my crew. Oh, you're so dark and edgy, Wyatt. Like, what a protagonist. Like, I was tearing my hair out at Wyatt.
Yeah.
Fucking hate Wyatt. Like, he's not Alan Wake bad, but he's not good.
Yeah. His response is just kind of a constant reminder that he's a loner, Dottie, a rebel.
Exactly. And I just get these squalls out of my fucking game.
Yeah.
Like, there's only room for one squall.
And he needs to be quarantined to the game that he's in.
Yeah, it's great, and that means none of that fucking Dissidia shit. So anyway, ... He just wants to find his crew. She's like, well, you can start here.
Yeah. Like, I know the elder of my town here. I can probably give you some information. We can get you around. And you are kind of fighting alongside her through the bottom part of this Tagrim district in order to get to the village gates, where you meet the elder, which is Adeline's grandfather, Treyer.
Yep. Treyer, this is in this village. These humans are caught between the struggles of angels and demons. Adeline was on a mission east to a place called Hruck. It's so bad. But got injured. Yeah. So now, you saved Adeline, but now it's like, can you go talk to the village?
Yeah.
And you're like, ... I don't care about your problems. ... I just need to find my crew. ... I'm a loner. And they say like, hey, you might find your crew there.
Right.
So basically, like, mentioning the word crew is the secret pass that gets Wyatt to do anything you want for him. ... It's
just the heuristic. Oh man. I remember this in video games hot dog. Anytime you see ... in a video game text, just mentally replace that with a fart.
Yeah, he's just farting.
Yeah. So we've got our mission here. We've got to go through the Mausoleum district. Adeline gives you the thing that let her do these wall jumps, this wall hook. And we're going to need that to head over to the east.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a satisfying wall jump, I think. It is a little weird, like, having those multiple different jumps off of it, but it is a truly empowering upgrade.
Yes.
Like, it feels pretty good to get this, I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's fun.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So we're now going to the ancient mausoleum in the Mausoleum district. Pretty morbid for your underwater city.
Yeah.
You step into this. Wyatt mentions they better change to dark magic to fight these angels. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of this, like, little bit of... that shooter, what is it called? I may say the name. Dark shooter. Ikaruga action to this that I didn't engage with very much because there's not like a quick, like a hot bar to switch this stuff.
Yeah, you got it. There kind of is if you hold down.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you hold the thing.
Yeah, it's going to go into a quick swap. There's something about that though where you can see a summary of like what each of the skills does. Without going into the menu. So I pretty much went into the menu every time I needed to change it, just because I needed a refresher.
Yeah. Yep. I ultimately did not engage with swapping things out to hit weaknesses very much, which, it could be the reason, like, if every time I say something is hard in this game, you can now say, oh, you didn't do that, straw man. But that's fine. Like, the reason I didn't do it is because of friction and because I just did not internalize what these different arcs and stuff were.
Yeah. I mean, like, additionally as well, like it like for the regular rank and file enemies, it doesn't make that much of a difference. And like, I assume you, like me, if you ended up dying to a boss a few times, change these around in order to take advantage of their weaknesses. Right.
Yeah. For bosses. I just didn't want to spend the whole game in the menu.
Right.
Yeah.
So the angel attacks here. And we have a few of these. There are a few flying angels. There are some that guard themselves with shields. There's also these martial artists who wear ornate Kung Lao hats. Who are, they kind of get up on top of you quicker, more than everybody else. I kind of wish there was more differentiation aside from color palette between the angels and demons. Yeah,
they play largely the same.
Yeah,
there aren't that many enemy types in this game.
Yes.
There's a good variety of bosses, but there aren't that big of a variety of just like regular enemies. Yeah. The floating sprite that is an elemental, I got very sick of facing.
Yes.
And the necromancer, the guy who would raise guys, that sucked the stars from the sky.
Yeah, no, they're just like there are 4 whole dungeons in this game that are based around those necromancers. I may be exaggerating.
Those guys suck.
Yeah.
The angels who block, really, this is where I learned the importance of guard breaking.
Yes.
Like a lot of times in a video game with a heavy and a light attack, I tend to just emphasize light attacks because I want combos and to interrupt the enemy. The heavy attack in this game is necessary.
Yeah.
It has utility as well as power.
Yeah. Additionally, like these enemies will punish trying to jump over them. Like the bigger enemies here, you need to dodge roll through them in order to attack them from behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are traps here
too. There's also a third enemy here.
Oh yeah.
Traps. Yeah. I was gonna say there's a third, like a big armored guy as well.
Yeah.
Who has a range attack with his slashes.
Yeah, they'll do like a little like shockwave with it.
Yep. And then these traps, as you mentioned, these like blue kind of power gems in the wall that shoot laser barriers.
Yes. Yeah. And we reach a boss here, Tagu.
I love how Tagu looks.
Tagu's real good.
Big boy season.
So you guys said that a bunch yesterday. Is there a source for Big Boy season?
That's just a Gary original. I think it came from Facebook animal pages.
Oh, yeah.
Like just linking a fat cat and being like, folks, it's Big Boy season. And there's just a picture of an obese cat. Like,
big payday.
Big payday.
Yeah.
Big Boy season getting a big payday.
But this is a huge set of armor. It has some crystals growing out of its back. And boy, does he like to slam and or jam.
He does slam and jam.
Yeah.
He does this like AoE thing where he slams down and sends out shockwaves. In general, I like this boss. The way that his like secondary meter, which is kind of a contextual all-purpose meter, his is armor.
Yeah.
So you deplete that, and then he takes a knee, and you can smash the crystal on his back.
Yeah.
This is a good boss fight, I think.
Yeah, I like this.
Plenty good. Easy enough to avoid his stuff. His stuff is reasonable.
Yeah.
And he is a nice design.
Yeah, big sprite, which like feels like it is designed with your jump and dash dimensions in mind as well. Yeah,
much better than Big Sierra Mist. Jesus,
it's good. It's just fine.
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
It's fine insofar as I don't feel compelled to shut off the call, but.
Well,
I'm gonna hang up.
Let's all admit they were words.
Yeah, we can all agree
it was language.
We can all agree it was words.
Yeah, if we can agree it's language, then the battle's half won in my mind.
Yeah.
So,
yes,
I'm tired. My soda got flat. I couldn't drink it.
You can still drink flat soda pop.
It's gross, man. A flat Diet Coke.
Yeah.
It tastes like slime.
Yes, you do need the acidity that carbonation brings. I agree.
Yeah. It's not refreshing now.
Might as well be a glass of sand.
Yeah.
So Wyatt has never seen an angel like Tagu. This is kind of his first indication that something weird is happening in this city, which is like a strange thing to see, this far into the game. Like, because I have no context for what's weird and what's not.
Again, tell not show, right?
Yeah.
They're just saying like, hey, this is weird. Trust me.
Yeah.
So there's a save room after that. And this is something new. It's a mana key that you get.
Yeah.
This allows you to charge up these mana crystals that you have to open up barriers. Allows you to do a couple other things that aren't signposted. You can turn on certain mana generators with it, which can help with the penultimate boss fight. And then also it is the thing that opens up the timed gate puzzle quarter of this game.
Yes.
It's going to be using a mana key and then trying to dash through a gate before it closes to grab a treasure chest to grab one of Flea's socks.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually it will mix the mana key with stomps.
Yeah.
And activating one of the mana crystals actually takes time. But that is offset by the fact that you can kind of like lead off of the base a little bit. Like you can stand pretty far away from these while still charging them up. And that ends up being like a crucial tactic for shaving seconds off.
Yeah. I really like the leading off the base. That's a good analogy for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So.
But we have passed through the ancient mausoleum, and now we are into the frozen crypts. It is uncertain how ancient the crypts are, but they are frozen.
Yep, yep. And we're introduced to new enemies here.
Mm-hmm.
These ice sprites. So these are these elemental things. These will come in all kinds of flavors. Eventually, I find these really annoying.
Yeah.
They have periods of invincibility.
Yeah.
Which I dislike. And they shoot icicles and make icicles rise from the ground and make them fan out in circles. I do like the little crabulons,
Yes.
little chonky boys, who summon little barriers.
Yes. Little crabs are good.
Yep.
Something that is kind of hostile about this, because you don't really have a way to deal with it right now, is the fact that there is just kind of a general cold modifier on everything in this level.
Yes.
You kind of are always taking damage over time while you're here.
Which plays into a system that I did not engage with in this, where towns, one of the merchants that you find in towns sells you potions that act for a small amount of time.
Yeah, I think you mean a large amount of time, 45 minutes.
45 minutes. So enough time for a dungeon.
Yeah.
You can only carry one. It's not like you can have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
There's not a consumable inventory in this game.
Right.
You just activate this, and then for the next 45 minutes, you're protected from a status effect.
Yeah. There's one dungeon where this is absolutely necessary. But
I did not fuck with it at all.
Oh.
I did not buy anything from her.
Huh.
I ended up ultimately wanting it for poison, but I pushed through the pain.
Yeah, but the poison is the one that I felt it was necessary for. Yeah. So we have more of these timed gates that ends up being the bulk of the levels, but it's frustrating for the show because it's not really worth describing exactly what you have to do. Yeah, whatever. We find a huge feral here. This is golden, and it is guarding the boss door on the way out. This is Rootjaw, the Frozen One.
Yes, who is an ice dragon.
Mm-hmm.
This does a thing. This is a weird boss where I kind of like the boss, but you just do the same thing twice.
Yes,
it's really weird. Like, he has 4 different weak points, and you get them in order.
Yeah.
You have to get the one under his neck, then the one on top of him, or 3 different weak points. Then you can smash his face. And you just do that cycle twice.
Yeah.
It's a really strange move while like navigating the room he's under and navigating his breath attacks and lasers and waiting for him to shoot out breath attacks that create a platform for you to get up to his weak point on top of his head.
Yeah. So it's not very difficult. What this reminded me of is like a boss from an area in like Dr. Wily's Fortress or Sigma's Fortress in a Mega Man game.
Sure.
Yeah, just for the size and for the fact that you're fighting the room more so than you're fighting the actual enemy. Yeah. It's fine. I wish that you weren't just doing the same thing twice. I wish that they had changed it up in between them. But
yeah, I'm never going to ask for a second phase, but I'm asking for a second phase. Or don't make me do it twice.
Yeah,
one or the other.
If there's going to be a second phase, change it up.
Yeah. But but it's fine.
Yeah. Also, it's attractive. Like, it's a room size sprite.
Yeah, big sprite. Once you kill him, you get his ice soul that he has, which allows you to use ice magic. And getting one of these in the game is really empowering because it's actually getting 4 spells. Like, you can attach it to any of those 4 different states and get 4 different effects.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, and one of which is generally a Metroidvania effect.
Yeah.
So this is the one that allows you to make blocks.
Yeah, it's only very rarely that one of these doesn't have the Metroidvania thing. And these blocks, even though they appear to be kind of small, it's always just enough to get you up to a new place.
Yeah.
Yep. So we break through and we get into the Central Skyway area, and we get to the town of Huruk.
Yep. We got to get to the grunt. Yeah.
But you go inside and you run and talk to Elder Breja and give her this package of spare parts. The package opens up and explodes, and all the summoners die.
Yep, and that's the end.
Yep.
It's quite the twist, and we talked about the game having good bosses. Those 2 we fought were good. I just assumed the game would end here. I stopped.
Right.
If you like this show, head on over to Patreon. Just kidding.
Yep.
In fact, nothing blows up. And they say, give the parts to a tram station. She won't hear you out. You're like, hey, ... I don't care about anyone. ... Angels, demons, ... They're all blood on my blade.
Have you seen any weirdos around here lately besides me?
And she says, hey, I can't talk to you right now. Do this task. And you're like, I'm so dark and edgy, but I'll do anything anyone tells me to do.
Right.
So you do it. You go and deliver these parts to the tram station.
Here's the thing that I would like to ask of people who write video games. At no point in a game like this where you're given these small little tasks should you have your character say, "What am I? Everybody's errand boy?"
Yeah, stop. It doesn't make it okay to draw the line under it.
Right.
Like it doesn't make it better. Like there's a I agree with you. There is a person who plays a video game, and as soon as a game acknowledges something, it makes it okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's a really, really bad attitude towards art. Like hanging a lampshade on something does not necessarily make it more sensible.
Yeah. It's just because I did it intentionally doesn't mean it was necessarily worth doing. Here,
yeah.
there are greater implications to like, okay, we just slap a band-aid over this quest mechanic. Just like, oh, what am I? Everybody's errand boy it's just a cliche. It's not additive.
Yeah. Well, and if you wanted to actually, it clashes with Wyatt's character specifically.
Yeah.
Like, even though he is supposed to be edgy but have a heart of gold, like that is not a very good way of like him being willing to walk 20 feet away to deliver a thing for somebody who won't walk is not a very good way to show that heart of gold.
Right.
Having him complain about it is not a personality. And the way to do this, especially in this game, is just make it mercenary. Like, hey, would you go do this for me? No, I'm not going to do that. It's not my job. I'll give you this.
Yeah.
And then you have an entire array of absolute garbage trash items to give me that would not upset the economy. Yeah. Give me the kind of thing I get from like any average treasure, like an iron plate or something. Like, hey, I'll make it worth your while if you do this.
Yeah.
Like, make my character a fucking mercenary. Like, I don't know. It is really, really frustrating just to have the character kind of like laugh at the video game trope.
Yeah.
And then continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't want to derail us with that, but it is something that happens in this game. It happens in Axiom Verge too. Yeah. And if Link could speak, he would probably say it. Maybe. No, he's too pure.
He would say it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say it like that, but he would make a little comment because it's the kind of, it's the kind of thing that Nintendo thinks is humor.
Yes.
So it's not funny though when that happens.
It's deadly serious.
Deadly serious.
Yeah. So we take the tram parts over to Claudia, and she mentions, "Hey, we have the stranger that fell from the sky, near town that was attacked by ferals, and the doctor has kind of taken them in over by the armory. You go there, and this is one of your crew people named Vladin, and the doctor cannot help him without something called the Lourdes tier." That is over in the abandoned gardens.
Yep. So now you have a reason to go do this.
Yes. To rescue your friend.
Yep. So you go to the pathway to the abandoned gardens. Mm-hmm. There are these two golden ferals you run into on the way. They have to beat in order to open a door. Mm-hmm. It's fine. And we get to the abandoned gardens, which is kind of a poison zone.
Yes. I think this area looks really good. Like the mixture of green and purple is great.
Yeah. Joker vibes. And poison in this game is serious.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. I'd rather have it be that than nothing. Mm-hmm. The only big change I would make is I would have it not drain your MP. I think that's a bad choice.
Yeah.
Personally.
So you're not poisoned ambiently just by being in here, but pretty much everything will proc poison on you. Specifically like this basic enemy that throws out poison mines. Basically is huge area denial. It was very difficult to find a way to avoid them.
Yeah. It's the health economy of this game in general is real weird. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about the healing in the generalities, which is mostly about when you're in a boss fight situation.
Yeah.
Really early on in the tech tree, you can get a regen that happens passively when you're not in combat. So you can basically like walking between areas with your magic regenerating and being able to do your heal over time, and also with just your health regenerating. Like I generally, if I was just walking and not fighting, I would slowly get back up to max health pretty quick.
Yeah.
Slowly, pretty quick. I would get back up to max health by the time I fought again, is what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Gradually, but fast.
Right.
So as opposed to instantly is what I was trying to say by that.
Okay. Yeah. But here though, like out of the box, I never did the regen skill actually, which is why I made the run and got the potion that would let me kind of go through this place without suffering a consequence. Here though, out of the box, like your healing skills are so limited that you really can't outrace the drain.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
There are also mimics in this area. These little flowers that turn into claw traps that have items.
Yeah, it's not just flowers. It's just like little like pickups. It looks like just things that are like slightly out of place that I, as a video game character, am going to run over because that might be a pickup.
Yeah, it's a treat, but actually, it's not a treat. It's a trick.
Yeah.
I like those. I think I think that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Throughout this area, we've been finding lots of doors locked with a skeleton key. This is ultimately going to be a way that we move forward. But first, we have to deal with this boss, Shugoth the Devourer.
Yes, this is the boss that Tara warned me about.
Okay.
Like generally, I was like, oh, this, they put their worst boss at number 2. I think they put the worst boss at the end. This did not end up being as bad as I thought it was going to be, but that's even because I was flexing for it.
Yeah, you're braced for it.
Yeah. It's not great. I don't think this is a very good boss. It fills the bottom of the arena with poison gas, or these platforms, and then he warps around generally while throwing poison bubbles at you.
Yeah.
This was hard. This took me several tries. He has a little vocal bark when he teleports. It's like something like, I'm over here now. Or I can't remember what it is, but it's weird. It's not great.
Yeah.
But this took me a few tries. I think this is hard.
Yeah.
And he has quite a bit of HP for this point in the game as far as my damage output goes.
Quite a bit of HP. Additionally, I think at this point I only had 1 health potion. So,
yes,
and no matter what I did, I could not find a way to get through this without taking way more damage than I ought to. Like even with the potion that you can get, that kind of makes it so you can jump around the poison fog down there. Yeah, it just like there's a lot of mandatory damage here.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's not great. Does that poison protection potion does that stop you from taking poison at all, or does it just increase your resistance?
As far as I could tell, it stops it entirely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. It's worthwhile. Like it's a really good, like I believe in those potions, especially because like 45 minutes is an absurdly long time to get it. Although I had to reload because I thought that I was buying potions that I would use before I realized there were no consumables in this game. So I'm like, oh shit, all these seem good. So I'll buy all 3 of them. No, they overwrite each other. So I just wasted a bunch of money.
It's a toggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this nets you an Archdemon Spirit. I believe that this is just like an upgrade material. I don't think it's I don't think it's a new spell.
This is not a spell. It's not a poison element.
Yeah.
It's an upgrade material that is relatively rare.
Yeah. But through there you get the Lordess tier, which is a flower that grows in a treasure chest in a garden.
It grows in a little planter box.
Yeah. Yeah. Little container garden. It's more practical in a city. Yeah. Like Sithis.
And like the Abyssal City.
Yeah.
So it's more practical for Abyssal City living. The Sims 4 expansion that I would play.
That would actually be really good.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah, like screw this. I'm a magician. Like the wizard school. No, like let me make dark packs.
The idea that I can maybe be a centaur is not as exciting as you think it is, Maxis.
Oh man.
So we go back with our medicine, and they say go talk to the elder while we wait for it to work. The elder says they need you to clear some angels out of the library. And you're like,
we called the guy to spray, but he couldn't get here till next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, so you seem good.
Yeah.
We'll have you do it. And you say, ... I'm a loner, ... I'm not your errand boy. And then she goes, there might be crew. And you go, okay. And go do it like the edgy edgelord that you are.
Right. Oh man, she gave this order on the slim possibility that one of my crewmates might be there. This is what I wrote when I was playing this. Like, yeah, it's real ridiculous. And the library is this ultimately ends up being your home base. And it's not that much of a problem to clear it out because it's not really that huge.
I'm very disappointed that they couldn't do this themselves.
Yes.
Like this is very easy. One of the biggest fast travel world design problems in this game is not being able to fast travel back to your home base.
Yes.
That seems bonkers to me.
It seems like the bare minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this should have been a hub. There's a little bit of business of platforming and fighting that you have to do every time you go to your home base.
Yeah.
Like it's not very much, but the way to get there is there's a couple enemies along the way and some jumps, and doing that every single time is so dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Yeah. No, I agree. It seems like the bare minimum you would have if you had a home base is the ability to get there quickly.
Man, I would love to be able to teleport home.
Oh yeah.
Like just one way Nightcrawler. Like I could just
only
teleport one way.
Just a Hearthstone.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Like a moon key, like just it's like, I don't want to be at this bar anymore. I'm gonna pretend to go to the bathroom and do this.
Yep.
Just like,
boink.
Where'd Gary go? He must have left. I don't know.
Yeah, he hearthed.
And then it's me at home, like, hey, I'm in bed. I'm reading, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I no longer have to stand up. So be pretty rad.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
The way here we see a fight.
Yeah. There's a fight here. You've had a couple of them, but you're interrupted. It's Vladin. He's gotten up. He's healthy again, and he is really, really excited by how many books are here in this library. Vladin is kind of like a scholarly kind of guy. I think he's the guy who you can talk to about the lore. But
he is the lore man.
Yeah, but like this is forgotten knowledge that has been at the bottom of the sea for like all of these people's lifetimes. So.
This is also a character you can play as. This is the gun fella you can unlock for beating the game. And you can find books around the world that you can give back to him that give you backstory.
Yeah.
On this. I only found a couple of those, but I got the impression there were more.
Yeah.
So he's going to stay here and receive the crew from the hub. This whole time you're looking for Reyna more than anyone.
Yeah.
The impression of like a romantic relationship there.
Yes.
Early on.
Like you find a handful of people, like you find a Borsk, like, hey, go to the library. You find somebody here named I forget. Like, oh no, haven't seen Reyna. So then Gilda goes back. Yeah, another playable character you can see. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone you're just asking about Reyna, like you're disappointed in finding them.
It's like, hey, thanks, Dick.
Yeah. He's not a good friend.
Yeah.
So you start going back to the village here, and this angelic woman stops you. You're one of your crew members. So you have angels and demons on your crew as well.
Yeah. But they're like apostates. They're people who have left.
Yes. Yeah. This is where you recruit Gilda. And when you get back, the tram is running. So you can take this back to Tagram. We found the skeleton key. I can't remember if we mentioned that, but we grabbed that in the gardens. So, and we have a couple more Metroidvania stuff. So you can do a Metroidvania sweep.
Yeah.
If you would like at this point and get some bonuses.
It's worth doing.
Sure. Yeah. I did not do very much of that in this game. I mostly just stuck on the critical path, but I did a little bit of sweeps.
Yeah.
Cause you have to backtrack, so like if there was not really a fast travel.
Yeah. The map, even though you do not have like an overall map that will show you the entire world, it is always zoomed in on the district that you're in. The map ends up being pretty useful for showing you like, hey, this door is locked and you need this key to open it.
Yeah. Yep.
So helping you playing your sweeps around a little bit. Yeah.
On your way, once you take the tram back to Targrim, we run into Adeline again.
Yeah.
She greets us and says, hey, check out this town, Ishk to the west. As the not good town namer that they employed for this game, Ishk. And she joined you as your first assist in the game. Assist is dedicated to a button. They're on a cooldown. They level up and they do different things. Like a lot of times it's like a Marvel versus Capcom thing, like where they just pop in and do one attack.
Yeah.
Ultimately I did stick with the guy who dresses up like Michael Jackson because he stuns everything.
Yeah.
And it works on bosses. So this was my like emergency get the heck out of Dodge button.
Yeah.
But then I largely forgot that the system existed and that I could do other people.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had other options, but
I generally also forgot it was here. So yeah. Yeah. There are a couple of different ways you can get to Ishk. Like you can go through the Western Skyway, but that is guarded by a pretty tough boss. The other way you could go is down through the sewers.
Yeah. Yep. There's also, it's worth noting here too, in like before I play stuff, in one of these towns, somebody sells you a doll. If you pick that up, you will run into a unplanned boss early.
Yes.
So I was told not to pick that up and I didn't, but just in terms of content, I know I'm not commenting on because I missed it.
Yeah.
There's a doll and you can fight a boss.
Yeah. And in terms of like, like individual event triggers and things like that, if you decide to go up to the Western Skyway earlier, you have to fight that Yeti who initially, the Yeti who Adeline saved you from initially. Depending on when you kill this thing, different bosses show up later on when you're on your way to the final boss area, to end the game. Additionally, like there's something you can do with this where he comes in and kills the entire town of Tagram.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff you can do where just like whole towns get wiped out. So,
which is cool. Yeah. Like that has lots of Dark Souls flavor to me.
Yes.
These event flags that are very esoteric.
Yeah.
When I bring them up, I'm not complaining about them. I'm just saying that I can't speak to them very much.
Yes.
Because I missed them.
It was not the way that I went through the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. I kind of just, I'm talking about my first playthrough.
Yes.
Of this. Like, and I treated it like a first playthrough, even though I know there's depth for later.
Yes. Yeah. Sewers full of angels.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
There's a Red Hot Chili Peppers. Eric.
Sorry.
So the sewers all lousy with angels.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. You got angel sewer.
Oh yeah. You got cherubs in the cistern.
Yeah. You got cherubs.
Seraphs in the cistern. Sorry.
Yeah. Seraphs in the cistern. Fuck. If you're in that band, quit. Stop playing bass. You're not that good at it. And there's a new enemy that's this like gunslinger guy who shows up, who teleports around a lot. Right? Is that the guy?
Yeah.
Talking about? Yeah.
There's like a demon version of it. I think there's an angel version of it. Just anything that teleports, like just get back here, please.
It's not great. Yeah. Like I'm just like, please just let me DPS you to death.
Right. Yeah.
The sewer's pretty complicated as far as layout goes.
Right. Yeah.
There's another one of like Valdis's tricks that I want to bring up that really came to the fore in the sewers.
Okay.
Which is a screen transition to a new screen that has a very short ledge. So if you are walking with any kind of speed or sliding into it, you do a really long fall.
Yes.
When you get into a new screen, that's a really weird trick.
Uh-huh.
Like it's never death. It just means you have to climb your way back up. But it fucked with my like exploration heuristic of, exploring things in an orderly manner.
Yeah.
That I like doing, that ended up frustrating me. And it happened enough to where I felt like it had to have been intentional.
Yeah, I don't know why. So if it was intentional, what is bad about rushing into a new room that they're trying to stop you from doing?
I don't know. Other than it just being a little bit of a troll, right? Like, it's a screen transition, which part of this, they want this game to be, it's supposed to be fun to backtrack.
Yeah. And
fun to move through areas where you're not doing the combat in this game.
Yeah.
So I think that rushing should not have been punished.
Uh-huh.
There. The consequences were not huge, but that does not equate to something being good.
Right.
So.
Yeah. There's a little laser puzzle room here where you can get a book of the old gods. These are the ones that you take back to Vladimir to have him get more lore. You can find a few of these as you go along. Additionally, though, you're fighting through some angels and you get to a room where some angels are arguing over this frozen figure and about their duty to guard it. Specifically like, hey, we can't leave this alone. This thing killed 30 angels and we need the Judicator to study it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll leave you guys to it.
Yep.
So you continue on. You make these kind of tight jumps. Head to the east. You find angels harassing a member of your crew. They want him to swear loyalty to Alagath. And it's like, well, I'm not going to swear Alagath.
Alagath is the good daughter of Valdis, the patron of the angels. And when it's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course, we're passing by more of these time gates and things like that, trying to get to a boss here, who the previous people, the arguing angels were talking about, Distan the Judicator.
Yep. Who, this is like a dual boss. Mm-hmm. It is this monk kind of character, this martial artist, the white cloak, who does like combos.
Yeah.
Combos and then teleports away and then shoots lasers.
Mm-hmm.
So he will block, which again, strong attack.
Yeah.
Doing the jump and strong attack is extremely good. Do that a lot. He also summons these angel Templars into the fight to back him up.
Yeah, and these are the gigantic guys with the shields that you have to like roll through to attack them from behind. Like this is not just a matter of like cutting through a mob. Like they're going to be here and they will no-sell you, and you cannot jump over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly. After you kill him, you can spare him, or after you defeat him, you can spare him or kill him. Sparing him leads to another boss fight later, which I also skipped. Not necessarily on purpose. Like I ended up killing him, but I just kind of was like, you know, it wasn't something I like sat down and put a lot of thought into, because it did not feel like it did not feel like a moral choice, and I did not really have the context to understand what Distan was.
Right.
Really, or what the place was in the world. Like there's a little bit of unmooring that made me not consider this.
Yeah, and also I was like, okay, well, what would Wyatt do? Well, he'd probably kill the angel, right? Okay.
Yeah. If you're doing an RP server, like 100%.
Yeah.
You know, unless the angel said, "Wait,
I know where your crew is.
Your crew.
All hail the angels. I
dot.
serve the angels. ... Fart.
Like talk, angel, talk. You got a lead on crew. I just like imagining like Wyatt walking down the street and just be like, "Yo, man, you need crew. You need crew.
Wyatt, you need help."
And then just Wyatt, like intervention for Wyatt. And
Why you have
crew.
a disease?
Yeah, like I would love to do the Wyatt intervention.
Yeah,
even though you'd have to look at his fucking chest.
That's the thing.
My intervention would be for him to put on a fucking shirt, and then it would be about his crew problem. So,
oh man. So anyway, by beating Distan, you work your way into the Guardian Temple, which is where the town of Ishk is. Ishk.
Yeah.
This lets you resync the tram system, and now you can travel between all the major cities. And we want to talk to Elder Sezi down here because he may know about the crew, but this is also like a secret fifth faction that is going on here. This like warrior race that Wyatt happens to be, kind of half part of.
Yes, which are they just seem like humans with different jobs.
Yeah.
To me, like I didn't really quite understand why this was a different like capital R race in a fantasy sense.
Yeah, it's like it's a different clan more than anything.
Yeah. What are they called again?
I've got it down here somewhere. It's something with
whatever.
a G, like Gearbu, I think.
Yeah, Gearbu, the Gearbus.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna find out we're a Gearbu.
Yes.
So we ask him, about the crew. He explains, Ishk is part of this thing called the Guardian Temple that the world has forgotten about. He says, I will tell you why the angels and demons still fight and send troops down here, but I don't trust you yet. You have to go do a thing for me.
Yeah.
So you get your task to go down into the sealed temple and bring back his favorite hammer.
Yeah.
This guy feels like he's from a different property or like an Easter egg from a different game to me. Like if this was a DLC, for another game, this guy would be very important.
Yeah. No, and he's real big into manipulating you. Is the thing. Yeah. But this Guardian Temple, like the elemental alignment of this place is fire.
Yes.
And it's important because so the entirety of the city, like any place where humans live, it needs to have mana generators, around to power them in order to heat. In this place, they only have one working mana generator left.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's going to die.
Yeah.
And I did not do the side quest to fix it. Not because I didn't want to. I didn't know where they wanted me to go.
Yeah.
I did one step of it, and it did not lead me to the next step.
Yeah. I ended up doing it, and the only thing you really get is that Ishk ends up not, like everybody in Ishk gets to live, which is hardly a reward.
Well, they go and move to other places, I think.
Okay.
If it dies, what do you do after you go back to, or after you like learn about it from the tram lady?
So she gives you, so there's like a particular mana crystal that you already have that you end up just kind of like going out and I think if you just do a charge attack, it turns into a charge mana crystal, and then you just take it back to the maintenance person down here.
Okay.
It's super simple actually.
Okay. Yeah. I talked to her and I didn't know what to do next.
Yeah.
I just ended up charging my mana crystal.
Yeah, it's simple in terms of what you have to do. It's not simple in terms of figuring out exactly what it expects of you.
Yeah. And there's some definite like eye on the prize.
Yes,
going on here.
Yeah.
So,
there's a crew member down here, Kante. She's
my boy.
That's the Michael Jackson person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kante.
Yeah.
Wearing a fedora, big loose pants.
Yeah.
Extreme to me written by a Kickstarter backer. Very analytical and purpose-oriented mentality, but lacks social experience. Lacks a mental filter, so he has few friends. Gets along with Wyatt somehow.
Okay, yeah. I just tell it like it is.
Telling it like it is. But confuses enemies and stuns them, which I think is useful.
Yeah.
So.
But they were waiting for these two other crew members who went inside. So in addition to getting this hammer, we can also, get our crew together.
Get our fix.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a fire theme level with lots of moving platforms and spike blocks.
Yes.
And jets of flame that will stun lock you.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Are a big deal in this game. Yeah.
Being on fire is not good.
Yep. It's a damage over time that lasts for a long time that hurts very badly, and it is a one hit leads to another kind of thing with fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
additionally, we've kind of stopped seeing new enemies. Mostly what we get here is fire themed versions of previous enemies. So instead of being a gunslinger, there's going to be a guy with a flamethrower.
Yep. Flamethrower slinger.
Yes.
So we find another crewmate, Reezy, who is chasing after a third one, Davian, in order to help him with the demons.
Yes.
So we're looking for those guys.
Yeah.
And we get to the back half of this area with these enemies that have glyphs over them that get up when you kill them.
Mm-hmm.
This is because there is a necromancer around.
Yeah.
And the necromancers are tanky and teleporty and irritating.
Mm-hmm. And no dungeon that we go to is not going to have these now. And generally, you will find them in very large rooms where they're going to teleport as far away as possible. And oftentimes, you have to leave that room to go up to the second level of that place where they are. Leaving a room resets everybody. So, fun.
Yeah, it's pretty irritating.
Yeah. There's a boss here, Jazarat. Who is he's not real talky, which is good. Although Wyatt is annoyed that he's not talky.
Yeah, I yep. It's just come on, Wyatt. Nothing to say, huh?
I wish. I wish I knew. I wish I knew something about him.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Do you?
But this is Jazarak the Purifier, and he is like a two-headed demon kind of guy. This is a good fight. It's very hard.
It's tough, and the big thing I don't like his weird flame tornado that he does in the middle.
Yeah,
this was good once I got to know it. I don't like that the flame tornado in the middle stun locks you.
Yeah,
and so if you get hit by that, it just kind of felt like some mandatory deaths.
Yes,
to me until I figured out exactly how to avoid that and where its hitbox was and everything, or its hurt box.
Yeah,
once I got it, I dug it.
So. Yeah, it just getting sucked into that flame tornado, it's weirdly exactly like what happens in Death's Gambit when you fight the soul of the Phoenix.
Yeah,
exactly the same. The flame tornado in the middle of the and Death's Gambit came after this, so I'm not saying there's any ripoff that happened, but it was just
no time crimes
no time crimes happening. But as you are dodging that, you are also trying to get between these flame spouts that are on the floor, and also this boss is summoning little portals that will shoot lasers at you from above.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is more about maneuvering than anything.
Yeah. Pretty good. Once you get past him, you get the fire glyph from. So now we have fire attacks, which the Metroidvania upgrade is a fire falcon punch that can get through these stone walls we've seen.
Yes.
And we grab the hammer. Next to another cancel cooldown. So we now have 2 dodges.
Yeah, which is really good. Especially if you've been investing points in those to make them recover faster. Yeah. So we go back to Ishk and gives Sezi his hammer, and he gives this real history of the world and the war as it is. And this is a bunch of exposition that puts you on, at least put me on firmer footing and what's going on here. So sure. Yeah, the case isn't just that Mergado, the evil daughter, right, attacked Valdis. Valdis knew I made an evil daughter. So I should probably keep an eye out. The thing that was a problem is that Algith, the good daughter, teamed up with Mergado and attacked Valdis as well. Valdis did not expect that.
And so that is the hook of the story. And it's really something illustrates a problem, I guess, in game narratives where the difference between like what happens and how it's conveyed.
Yes.
Because that's a fine idea. Like that little story is kind of interesting. The way it's conveyed is not very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that just telling us that from the Elder is very good. It's also treated as a reveal when you're told this later by Valdis.
Yeah.
In the ending, which is really strange. Like, oh, I knew this. You know, like, no, I know that's an okay idea that like, you know, these good and evil monikers you've assigned to these daughters are basically meaningless because it's about power.
Yeah.
Like the older daughter was nervous about you, the fact that you had power over her and wanted to overthrow you. You know, good is kind of fake.
Yeah.
Like good is a fake idea is kind of basically what I was taking from this. Like, you know, calling something good, like good is an act. It's not a quality that you have.
Right.
Fair. You know, good theme.
Yeah.
But the way it articulates did not work very well for me as far as getting across, you know, like an actual pretty good kind of emotionally powerful theme. Like I did not feel attached enough to anything personally.
Yeah. It also, you know, is a little bit undercut by the fact that angels are bastards everywhere. You know, it's not like, oh, you're from the surface and we think that, you know, we think that the demons are the only thing worth fighting. No, like you're going after all of them. Like you're basically both angels and demons are trying to subjugate humans. And that's why you as mercenaries are, you know, trying to take them out. Right.
You're already convinced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so
what
like,
if you had been like a priest or something? Like, there's no crisis of faith that happens as a result of this information. Like, oh, they're both assholes. I knew.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, these angels, like, why are they attacking? This is a huge mystery. Like, you know, somebody must have corrupted Algeth, right? Or like, there's a chancellor who assumed the power. Like, we need to rescue Algeth. And then finding out, you know, over the course of the game that like, no, Algeth was never on anybody's side but herself. And, you know, like just the things that you call angels and demons are just, you know, one and the same. There's just a different name.
Different kinds of monster.
Yeah. Like that would have that would have the impact that it needed as part of the story, as opposed to what is baked in here as just like, oh, like that's, you know, that's just part of the world Bible that is that is laid bare to you right at the start.
I don't think that would have been like an amazing story. I think like an anime influenced story where angels are bad is still my heart. You know, I don't think that's that interesting, but it would have been a story. Yeah. Like it would have fit the basic structure of a narrative with stakes and like a beginning, a middle, and end, and all those things that you want from a story. As is, like we kind of start in the end point. And like earlier when you said this feels like a DLC for another game, that's really pretty apt, I think. Yeah. Like even in terms of the narrative, it feels like we are like starting with a status quo,
right?
That would be the end status quo of something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It just like, you know, they're like, there needs to be like stasis and anti-stasis, right? There needs to be an expectation that is subverted. There has to be a change that occurs, you know, to the people involved. And there is, but the changes that end up happening, you know, what is revealed about both Wyatt and Reyna, like the implications of that are never really made clear because we never see Reyna and Wyatt together dealing with anything. We know nothing about their relationship or about the way they work together, you know, about like why the thing that is, you know, that Valdis tells them at the end, like how that will actually affect their lives going forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
They also say the Goibniu. Get your naming a little bit better. Fluffy Bunny Productions or whatever. Like
Endless
Goibniu. Stay puffy. Had a swordsmith named Moriora who crafted a weapon that cut one eye out of each of the daughters. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The daughters fled the city. They now send their forces to fight this proxy war to recover their mother's soul.
Right.
Soul is held far to the east in a city, in a sanctuary, but you need the divine key to get it. Sizzy says that they can make one, but you need to bring them divine dust from the engineer's palace and the mark of Valdis from the ziggurat. Yeah. So we're getting our like 4 Lord souls we have to go collect.
This is kind of the Anor Londo moment. Something that's worth mentioning about those eyes. You can find bosses in these small optional areas. The eyes of Algus and the eyes of Mirgeth, or Mirgado rather. They are incredibly tough. They are incredibly tough optional bosses that I bounced off of incredibly hard. So
yeah. I tried them as well, but did not beat them. Looked up the fact that they're optional, and I was like, I would like to be done with this game. I'm going to go fight the.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I need a change of pace. Let's go fight a good boss. The last 2 bosses of this. No. But
yes.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff
straight on loan from the Blasphemous collection.
Yes.
Of end bosses.
Like almost explicitly. Yeah,
Yep.
because the background boss kind of thing that goes
Yep.
on here. So there are a couple of things you can do here. Now that Sezi has the hammer, you can do some weapon and armor upgrades here as well. Something I love about the weapon upgrade is you can make a choice at each level, like what you want to emphasize. So you're kind of like designing your weapon to match your play style. Cool, and good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This was also the first town where I engaged with this stuff. Like there were merchants in the last towns, but I just also didn't have the piles of upgrade materials to do it.
Yeah,
So.
like in one of them in Haruk, I think there's like a blacksmith who specializes in celestial gear, and there's a blacksmith who specializes in infernal gear. And they have like a little rivalry between each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
On your way back, because if you want to go back to the library, you're backtracking.
Yes.
You can also just backtrack because you have more Metroid stuff. You go to Tagrum, and we see the Elder is having this confrontation with his grandson, Ziggy. Ziggy wants to strike a deal with the Angels, and Wyatt comes in and says, actually, the Angels won't honor this.
Yeah.
And then Ziggy transforms to attack, and Adelan kills Ziggy.
Yeah, this sucks because Ziggy is Adelan's brother,
Yep.
who was basically getting ready to sell the entire town out to the Angels. Oops. Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
And Adelan is also really angry that her grandfather knew that Ziggy was trying to do this, but kept it from her. Like, hey, we could have stopped him at the start.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Elder also talks about the dome that's keeping the water out is getting more cracks every day.
Yeah.
So the city's days are numbered, but also that you knew Wyatt's father, who you're looking for, who is the son of Moira, the Guibinu hero.
Yes.
So this is in a very short succession. We are learning that we're a Guibino and that we're the son of the Guibino's hero.
Right. Yeah. We are a scion of basically the people we are a scion of the person who killed gods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scion of Guibino, now on Kickstarter.
Names.
Guibinio. I can't, there's no charitable pronunciation for that because we didn't talk about this. There's not voice acting in this game.
Right. So we're making guesses about a lot of these pronunciations.
Goibniu.
Yeah.
What's the coolest possible way that string of vowels and consonants can be pronounced?
Gobnu, but also Gob.
Gobnu?
Maybe.
There's an I in there. Goibnu?
The I silent. If you don't like a pronunciation, you just make all the bad letters silent and say it the way you want to.
I'm going to say the G, the I, the B, and the I is silent.
Yeah.
Like Obnu? Yeah. I don't know, man. It's rough.
I understand naming stuff is really hard. Anytime I've ever tried to like write something fictional, just like the name is always something that has a huge thing to get over. I think that a lot of this might actually have been settled by like bouncing it off of somebody and asking, hey, does this work?
Is Goibnu cool?
Yeah.
Is Goibnio a cool word?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I've been writing for a long time without a break. I'll fix it.
Yeah. No, find a replace. It's good.
Yeah. So, anywho, we go to the mana crystal mine now because we're on our way to get that dust and do all that stuff to get the key.
Yeah, you can punch your way through the rock walls to get in here, and this place is full of these poison waterfalls and rivers, along with these crumbling platforms that you can only stand on for a little bit before they go away.
Yep, mixes up the platforming a little bit.
Yeah,
the summoners are back, and there are also these demons with flails that pop up. They're dark coated, but otherwise we're just dealing with normal demons that we've been fighting. We get to this dark tunnel, and as we go through there, it starts to shake, and we push through into this larger arena where Azudor is there to challenge you again.
Yes, Azudor is back. He's the remember the duel guy that we fought at the I think it was our first boss of the game. Yeah,
and if we spare Distan will fight as well.
Yeah. And I didn't spare Distan, so this ended up being actually a really easy boss fight.
Incredibly easy.
Yeah,
it's like, all right. I'll fight you again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he kind of does the same tricks. Like, he tries to get up real high and throw down fireballs. As far as I remember, he didn't actually summon any goons, so you just had to like get up there and knock them down. Like, I can see this actually being really difficult because of Distant. If you had them around, they would be kind of like right up on top of you the entire time while you were having the fireballs raining down. I like this. I like the fact that, what seems like a moral decision actually has this big implication for a later encounter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down for that, even though what is the signaling here? Because generally Mercy is considered good, but it makes it much harder for yourself.
Yes.
Which I generally like that as a thing. I wonder what the commentary is on it.
I don't know.
In the game. I think it should be hard to do the right thing in a video game.
Yeah.
But yeah, curious about that. Regardless of which, you kill him. He seems to be dead. Mm-hmm. You get the demon key, and the mine starts collapsing. So we get this timed segment to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is kind of crazy. Like, there are crew members that you can only get on your way back out. You rescue somebody named Ben McSteely.
The Kickstarter backer.
Yeah.
The famous Kickstarter backer.
Yes.
Ben McSteely.
Yeah. So what's weird is, like, there's a divine door here. I forget when you get the divine key. This area, it closes off forever because it all collapses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I do not know how to do it.
Yeah. So that must be gone forever. Here it is. You get the angel key by going and fighting an optional boss.
Yeah.
I guess it's not
Lozo.
optional. Yeah. Lozo, something like that. This is a knight made of energy.
Yep. Who is fine. There's not a lot to it.
No. It's pretty much just kind of a similar armor stamina bar kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you could have that key to get through there, which is a way to get out through the Western Skyway, which we mentioned. That's where the Yeti is at.
Yeah, would have
ran away with.
Yeah, what would have blocked you there before?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I ended up fighting the Yeti on the Skyway at some point. I don't remember if I did it here or earlier.
Yeah,
and it was hard, but I just kind of pushed through.
I ended up having to fight the Yeti over in the east. He had gone away, pretty much because I went and fought him and was like, okay, like, I'm actually not powerful enough to do this. Didn't feel like, and so I went and did more game. By the time I came back here, the Yeti was gone. Yes. Like,
my city was gone.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to do that.
Gone. My favorite Pretenders song. My Yeti was gone.
So I could have just made the joke about the Pretenders song, but because that song has such a strong association with Rush Limbaugh, I wanted to make a joke about that, but it was too many steps.
What is the association with Rush Limbaugh?
It's the song that he uses as the intro. It's like his theme song.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never listened to Rush Limbaugh. I did not know.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's the Rush Limbaugh song.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah. Boy, that seems unfair. I feel like Chrissy Hynde should stop that.
I would imagine, but she had.
I hope so.
It's been 30 years.
Please, Chrissy. It's unfortunate. Gotta put you back on the chain gang. I accept this. Yeah. Anywho, so as you're walking through the level, you can fight the we'll talk about the Yeti later.
Yeah.
There's a boss room, and this woman who's dressed up like a knight will call out to you, and you fight a boss called Magus the Hymnal. Here. Wow,
this is hard.
Yeah. This is pretty tough.
Yeah.
This introduces one of my less favorite. Eventually this was a thing where it's like I just got really good at fighting this.
Yeah.
Which is a very satisfying feeling. But one of the repeating tricks of this, in addition to summoning ads, is there's a Horcrux you have to beat that recharges.
Yes.
I don't love that, and it ends up being a real problem in the penultimate boss fight.
Yeah.
But here it's not great. Other than that, though, I think this is kind of good. Like, it's multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Knocking her down from different platforms and learning when it was safe to attack her and for how long was pretty satisfying. And this is also, by this point, I had gotten the parry and was integrating that into my boss fights. And the way parrying works in this is you do the riposte automatically. Like, if you parry, you will do this little rising, or at least with the dual blades, you do this little rising combo.
It works similar with the main sword, which is what I stuck with the entire time.
The regular blade.
Yeah.
So with that thing, I would you're invincible when that's happening. So this was a big breakthrough for the combat working for me as well.
Yeah.
Like it was hard, but I had a really good time parrying her.
Yeah, and it should be noted, like when I open up a conversation about a boss with like, hey, this is really hard, that's actually not a bad thing in this one.
Yeah,
it,
because
just
the bosses are good.
Yeah, the bosses are good. Like you have to rise to meet it, and like even though like halfway through she summons this little angelic helper to come along, and you are covering a lot of ground to like chase her down. With this, like it just, I don't know, it felt fair. If it felt like a wrinkle that followed with the rest of her fight.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I like this one.
I was much less into. Did you end up having to fight the Man of War?
I like the Man of War.
Okay,
I did fight the Man of
War. So Man of War, I got fucked on the Man of War, so that's just an enemy.
I got fucked on the Man of War with my last cigarette.
No, I got fucked on the Man of War because like I left an area kind of beyond this to like go back to the town to get something, and like okay, I hit a wall, and like okay, I'm just gonna go do some upgrades and stuff. And passing back through this arena, you fight another enemy who's not really like signaled at all. It's just a feral that pops up, and the Man of War, it's like a gigantic jellyfish that cycles through all of these different spell attacks, and it's always done in the same order, but like some of them, especially the lightning, basically it would one shot me the entire time. And I thought that I wasn't going to be able to beat this game because I could not get through the Man of War to get back up to the critical path, because it was the only way to get up to where I needed to go. I ultimately just kind of like put it down for a night and came back to it, but it was hard.
Yeah. I think that I either just had more lightning resist or whatever. Like at the point I fought the Man of War, I maybe had the lightning guarding spell that you get, the Metroidvania upgrade.
Yeah.
Or I just got good at dodging it. But like the fact that he just does those 4 elemental things in order became this very like almost robotic order of operations thing. Like in this mode, do this thing. In this mode, do this thing. Yeah. That ended up becoming very satisfying to me.
It's like I need to make hay because the next 2 phases are going to keep me on the run.
Yeah. And that rhythm actually really worked for me in that boss fight.
Yeah.
And the lore. What if a jellyfish? Like
we are into the sea. No, so
that's true.
What happened was I left the engineer's palace without getting the thing I needed.
Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, and so I had to go back up there because I was like, man, like, why isn't he making this key? Like, I better go back up there and explore, because it's not really obvious what you have to do, once you get the lightning power. And I felt like I was locked out of getting back to this important thing. I think I need to see the end of the game. Kind of that I only missed because of really bad signaling, it felt like. I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to shift blame, but that's what it felt like to me. Regardless, it wasn't a problem. Fair. I came around on the Man of War fight. It was just hard.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
After you beat the Magus, we get another crew member named Walter who does not like you.
No,
that's fine. I don't like Walter.
Yeah, I don't like Wyatt either.
Yeah, I don't like any of these characters very much, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's time to go to the engineer's palace. This is the electricity zone. With precise platforming and like this is where like mantling is weird, because sometimes you want to hang on the mantle but not climb up because there'll be electricity on top of a platform.
Yes.
But not on the edge of it.
Yeah, this is the dungeon where you have to learn that little half jump off of the mantle by basically pressing the opposite direction. Otherwise, if you try and treat these mantling points like platforms, the electricity traps will shock you and knock you off.
Yep. Yeah. Which is frustrating because the penalty is falling.
Yeah.
And starting over. Pretty precise.
Yeah.
And there's also there's a boss here on the way that doesn't have a health bar or the cadence of a boss.
Right.
Which is this big signaling fail, because if you're hitting something and there's not a health bar and you don't know that you're doing damage, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
This is this big armored angel thing, and it says, "Oh, you killed my sister," and you say like, "Which one is she?" "Oh, you angels look alike to me." I was like, "No, it's the fat robot. Like, they don't look alike to you." There's some that are fat robots, some that are cherubs, some that are like winking anime assassins. There's some that are necromancers. What do you mean they all look alike to you, Wyatt? There's 4 types of enemy in this game. Like, at the very least, you could be bothered to memorize them.
Yeah. I think you just wanted to say something that was like low-key racist against angels.
Yeah, like Wyatt's just mad because they can use the word and he can't.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like it's just this weird, want to get a little racism in there. And the fact that this is a pretty like bland boss fight, and I didn't know that I was actually making progress. I found this very frustrating.
Yeah.
I ended up having to like go and look online to see what I was doing, like how to beat this thing.
Yeah.
Because the fact that it didn't appear to be taking damage made me think I was like, there was a trick I needed to be doing for it. It was very frustrating.
Yeah. I'm looking at the boss page. Do you know what this thing's name is?
I can't remember. I knew at some point because I looked up.
I don't see anything that seems to match the description in the icons.
Like Tagu's sister.
Maybe or something.
Yeah, it's just named like somebody's sister.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't. Yeah. Like for me, I just kind of like hit this guy. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I guess. Just weird that they didn't code this as a boss fight.
It's a very strange move. Yeah.
Huh. And he's like right before the final boss of this area. You go through there and there's another angel here. This is Treyu. Mm-hmm. And she asks like, hey, why are you continuing this? Wyatt says, I don't want to have my soul harvested to make more angels. This is kind of the first point in the mandatory story that we learned this. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense why somebody would not like the angels. They're harvesting from humans to make themselves more powerful.
We should have called these monsters something different. They didn't have all those angelic connotations.
Yeah. But this is kind of like, this is the high commander of the angelic forces who are, working for Algoth here. This is Treyu.
Yep. Which is an interesting fight. Like it takes place over 4 levels, and the zoom of the camera means that there are like portions of this fight where like I was on the bottom floor and she was up at the top, and we just weren't really interacting.
Yeah.
Like I Love Lucy, like we had drawn a line down the video game, and like you stay on your side and I stay on my side.
Yeah.
Like it was just very weird.
Yeah. And so like getting between the levels requires that you do that little mantle jump because the way up is trapped. Not just with platforms that will shock you, but also like, horizontal lightning beams. I ended up getting frustrated and kind of losing my patience with this, specifically because I don't know, like it really annoys me when a boss says, okay, you can't do, like for this period of time, you cannot do damage to me. I'm gone. Bye.
Yeah. And that's a big trick here. It's also the meter that she has is the thing. And when she pops up, this is when she like does like the beam of heaven thing at you, right?
Yes.
Like she like zaps you with a beam. So you're constantly racing the clock on this as well. Like winding and damage you for it, that happens, and you have to kind of take a little time out.
Yeah.
It's a big Isaac thing. Like me and Will talk about that all the time. Like the worst bosses are ones that are just like, I'm immune for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not a great move, I think.
No.
After you beat this, Wyatt gives this little speech about how he's going to kill the angels and demons and reclaim the human souls. Until your power is so great that Morgado and Algoth are forced to face me. For the first time in their lives, they will know fear. When I arrive at the doorstep of heaven and hell, the false gods will know death has come for them.
Hey, Wyatt, you're sounding like a villain, actually.
Yeah. Which at first I was like pretty sure that's what I was going to go with, and there's some hints about that.
Yeah. At
the end, like when you get to the ending, about how like Wyatt losing control because he's designed to be this perfect bioengineered weapon.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, but again, it didn't feel very good to me. It's hard to explain. Like this is one of those things. Like sometimes we explain the plot of something on this show, it sounds worse.
Yeah.
Like we're like, hey, I know this sounds dumb. Like I know this sounds dumb, but I assure you it's good.
Right.
This is like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I know this sounds cool. I assure you that in play, like maybe it works for you, and I'm not trying to judge you if it works for you, but I found it pretty limp in execution.
Yeah.
Even if that as a one sentence thing sounds pretty cool. To me, the track was not laid to get me involved in these characters.
Yeah. Like out of context, somebody laying down some biblical shit, like Jules from Pulp Fiction. Like I don't know, I can be into that, but here it's just it doesn't feel earned. I don't know. It's subjective. It just did not do a lot. If I was more invested in Wyatt, it might have landed harder.
Yeah. Here we get a lightning spell. Thanks, Soul of the Warden, which allows you to put a little shield around yourself to make yourself immune to lightning. Yeah. This used to also contain the double jump in the early patch. So it had 2 Metroidvania upgrades, and the idea of casting a spell every time I wanted to double jump sounds really annoying to me. And tying my double jump to mana sounds like a real boneheaded move.
Yeah, sounds like a nightmare, actually. And also, like, guess what? You, like, here is a spell slot you can't use anymore because it will always be dedicated to double jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I'm happy that they made the change. Like, you just go to the library and there's like a trainer there who will give you a couple of different abilities, but the main one is the double jump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Those abilities are actually very useful. You can also get your combo to have an additional move, which is really kind of pretty key.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Next up to the Ziggurat.
Yeah, because like we use the lightning shield ability to get a hold of like the plans, like one of the components for this.
The dust.
For this key. Yeah,
the dust or something.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can go get the other key in the Ziggurat.
Yeah.
You use the Ice Tower and the Demon Key in order to get there from the Tagrum Derelict, the district around there, and we meet Reyna.
Yeah,
who we've been looking for.
Hey, girl. No, she's just been here fighting wave after wave of endless demons.
Yep. Lots of demons.
Yep.
Of course, we can come along and kill them.
Oh,
no problem.
Yeah, well, we're not locked in here. She had nothing else to do.
Yeah, she was bored. Is it like see how many demons you can kill and then try to beat that number? You know?
Yeah, but we direct her back to the library.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This place is a real pain. I had like there were some chambers in this that were incredibly frustrating just because there were enemies that were designed entirely to knock you off of platforms and down several screens. So you had to do a lot of backtracking or like covering ground again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And being knocked down several screens is very like it's not an instant death, which would be annoying.
Yeah.
But it's not the most interesting penalty for failure.
Yes.
For this.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, like everything here, basically it's just kind of the same environmental hazards and a lot of enemies that we've seen before, just kind of coded to be magic. And we can tell that because everything is purple.
Yes. The color of magic.
Yep.
There's a really annoying room with the the summoner necromancer guy who's there because he's got these platforms kind of floating in the air where he teleports around, but it's part of a 2-screen kind of zone. So you get knocked down and then you have to start over.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over against this fucker.
The good thing is if you get knocked down and die to the enemies down there, when you press retry, you're just back up at the top, so you can make another attempt to get past the My Little Pony looking guy who bucks you off of the upper platform.
Yeah.
So
there's like some Mega Man style knockback in this game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll hit the edge of something. It's actually the way the knockback works is really interesting. If you're on the ground, you'll actually hit the edge and stop. You only get knocked off platforms if you're in the air.
Yes.
And you go over the lip.
Yeah.
The lip is like a little invisible wall.
The thing that's frustrating about this enemy though is that doesn't like it doesn't honor that. Like he kicks you up into the air and knocks you off.
Yeah.
But even though this area is super frustrating, we get to my favorite boss of the game here.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
Even though the opening of it, I roll my eyes at.
Well,
This is a winged red knight named Gernot. And you are implied like this is, like, oh, Gernot, we meet again. Like whatever like transmedia thing this was, all the lore they built for this. Like tell me about my dad, Gernot. I'll never do it, Wyatt. You've always been a punk. Like they just do this, kind of saber rattling. But Gernot does say that your dad's still alive. And then you fight, and it's a really good fight because it's basically a duel. It's somebody who has your similar moves to you.
Yes, he will block you, and so like you have to figure out the rhythm of your attacks in order to get through that. You've got to throw in your strong attacks while also working blocks into your own stuff. And like the way that I did all of the damage to him was on parries.
Yeah.
Like this gave me like Sekiro feelings in a weird way.
Yeah, it's a good boss fight. Really, really good.
Yeah. The thing that
his bar is a timer.
Yeah, his bar is a timer up to him. So when it fills up, he jumps up and makes a black hole and starts floating around shooting magic at you. I think that previously the black hole was instant death.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Based on things that I've read about him. Now though it's a thing that
Hurts.
does a little bit of damage to you, but also like moves you out and exposes you. Like it makes it harder to dodge. Yeah. Yeah. But Gernot is a super fun fight.
Really good fight.
Yeah.
When you kill him, he laughs and says, "Your demon blood will take over soon enough." What the? I thought I was a Grimmirba boy. I was a Gribabope.
I'm a Goibnu.
I'm a Goibnu. I'm not a demon. Dun, dun, dun. And this gives you a soul that lets you cast infernal magic.
Yeah.
Including this warp thing, which is an interesting Metroidvania thing. I like this Metroidvania move. It's interesting that both this and Axiom Verge have kind of a version of this almost.
Yeah.
Where you send something out and then teleport to its location. Pretty neat.
Yeah, I like this. And there are a couple of places that you pass where it's like, oh, that horizontal corridor is lined with spikes. How would I get through here? It's with this power. Yeah.
We can use this to get the Mark of Valdis, which we can combine with the dust to get the key.
Yeah, you return to the Ishgelder and like, hey, I'll go kick it while you craft this. And he's like, oh no, I've got the key right here. I just wanted to test that you were worthy by sending you out to get this, which on one hand is irritating, but also like by proving that you could get, by proving that you were tough enough to fight all the stuff to get these things, basically the leader of the angelic and demonic forces is like, oh, I wouldn't be throwing this key away by giving it to somebody who's going to die immediately when they get over there. Yeah.
I never want it to be part of a narrative that somebody has tested.
Yes.
Like basically ever again. I don't think that's something that feels rings very true to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the world is imbalanced, but we have to make sure you're worthy. So we're going to go send this plucky, like that is the thing that happens in stories all the time, but I don't think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it just feels so weird and fake to me. It takes me out of a story.
Yeah.
It's a trope I would like to not see.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
So we now are going to the sunken prison on our way to the sanctuary to do the end game.
There are a few ways to do this. Like you could go through this place called the Tainted Laboratory, but you don't have to. Yeah.
And this also is on our way, like those two optional eye bosses we mentioned.
Right.
Are basically at this stage of the game if we want to go fight them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I went through the sunken prison, I mean, kind of because it seemed like it would be a shorter area than the Tainted Laboratory. And trust me, a place called the Tainted Laboratory, like that is coal catnip. So,
and I guess in a general way, like some of the environments in this game do look good, but it's not. And this is a thing, again, preview for next week is also a problem I have with Axiom Verge is there's not really like, what is the Tainted Laboratory going to have that suggests the Tainted Laboratory?
Yeah.
Using the level building blocks of Valdis story.
Lots of tubes in the background from what I saw.
Yeah, like maybe a couple tubes.
Yeah.
But nothing like cool. Like when I think of Tainted Laboratory, I want to come in and see like experiments halfway done. And I want environmental storytelling. And both of these games just have kind of a building block that they build levels out of that have no sense of place.
Right.
Like Axiom Verge, every once in a while, will have a big cyclopean statue of something that looks awesome.
Yeah.
But most of the areas are not a place where anything happens. It's just, what if there was a cave where there were monsters?
Yeah.
And Valdis story has the same problem. Like most of these areas are effectively a cave with monsters, even though sometimes they might have, some grass in the background.
Yeah.
Or something like, did not go through the Tainted Library. I was not excited about it because I wanted to see like Aldia shit. Yes. And we weren't going to get Aldia shit.
No.
I just didn't think the game was going to do it.
What is this? Some kind of tube?
Exactly. Like even Kingsfield. One had like Aldia shit. Like you go in there and there's like people in tubes who are begging for their lives. Like that's what I need.
Yep.
If you're going to give me a tainted laboratory, like give me somebody in a tube begging to be euthanized.
Yeah.
It's all I ask.
You can't help them. Well, you can help them, but you can't help them.
The only help is the sweet release of death. Let me make that decision.
I'm Dr. Sleep, baby.
Let me euthanize, baby. I'm euthanized, baby.
Oh God, no! It's like a like a weird little. How about I said kaiju, but what I meant is yokai.
Yeah,
but it's like
yokaiju.
a yokai, gigantic baby,
A gigantic baby.
yeah, like
Yokaiju.
zombies ate my neighbor. Oh
Yeah.
jeez, just pulling plugs left and right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can pass through the library and the Lost Garden to get to the sunken prison. For me, there was a boss fight down here, a reskin of the Yeti called the Raven.
I thought this as well.
Okay, yeah, but it was
which also looks like a moth.
Yes.
We didn't talk about that. The Yeti is dressed up like a moth, and now that it's a Raven, it's dressed up like a moth as well.
Yeah.
It's very funny that the reskin of the Yeti that's called the Raven is actually looks like a moth.
Yeah, very strange. It's hard to get a beat on what the ferals are. And you summons a bunch of ferals in it, and not terribly difficult. Just kind of a speed bump on the way. The prison just kind of seems to be a little bit of an end boss or kind of a final exam about the time switch doors more than anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you fight the actual Yeti itself here if you didn't fight it before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Which I had fought before. It's basically the same as before.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards we see that he has been eating angels and demons.
Cool. So, okay, so we understand how the ferals fit into this ecosystem a little bit.
It's because he was still hungry after eating the Da Vinci Code. So, yeah. So now we're in the sanctuary, baby.
Yeah.
I'm sanctuary, baby. So right inside the entrance of this, we find Moira. Remember Moira?
Yeah, she's the hero of the Goibnu, the smith who made the blade. And she's kind of been waiting here between life and death. And she says, hey, if we bring her the teaching of Life Blade, she'll teach me more. And I'm like, nah, we got a god to find. So,
yeah. I did not do the Life Blade.
No.
Yeah, sadly.
Yes.
Instead, I got to this chamber where you kind of do a boss rush of previous bosses, but where the other playable characters join you.
This is cool. I like that.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. I thought it was awesome. Like, I was just like, oh, this is pretty fun. Like, and if you know, it'd be more cool if I was attached to the characters, of course, but as is, just the novelty of this genre and this system fighting alongside a teammate was really neat.
Yeah.
I thought
it kind of made me wish that I encountered them more, like on their own little adventures. Kind of like to give hooks for, you know, oh, this is where you would meet them. I'd like do like a Resident Evil 2 kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But as it stands, it's still real cool to fight alongside them here. Even if it is like, it's not really a difficult thing. You know, this is mostly like a cutscene that you're able to interact with.
Yeah. There's nothing like, you know, you fight that big ice dragon again.
Yeah.
And it was really easy the first time. And now with help, it's easier. You know, so pretty easy. As you get through this, though, you get to this larger chamber where the strange looking woman appears, who's a feral. She's here to protect the soul of the mother, and she'll eat you to do so. And this is now we're entering the death slog of the two worst bosses in the game. An enemy and true anemone.
We're not saying an enemy, like it's an enemy, like the sea creature at the bottom of the ocean. So she's big. She's relentless with her combo attacks. When she's even on the field. But
this first one the first one's about the size of you. Like she's not that big.
Right.
She's like chonky, but she's not like a screen filling boss because we're going to run into that.
Yeah.
She just walks back and forth and does combos. But her gimmick is, combos and AoEs. The gimmick is that she will go into a cocoon. And then when she is in a cocoon, she will, heal. Like 2 crystals will pop up and she will summon a bunch of enemies which you have to kill before she gets out of the cocoon, and you have to go knock out those crystals so they don't heal her.
Yes.
This takes like 20 minutes.
Yep.
Like, I hate this.
Yeah.
It's not very fun.
I really don't like it when a boss heals.
I do not like it either, especially when they're invincible. Like, they're just going to stay in a little cocoon and be invincible, and I have to do this little platforming and fight enemies I fought like a million times.
If they're going to heal, let me stop it. Like, make it like Vicar Amelia, right?
Sure, and even don't do that because that wasn't great. Like, just don't have their boss heal.
Yeah.
You know, it's very annoying for this boss to turn invincible and make me fight a bunch of ads.
Yeah.
And go to this crystal. I ended up multiple times during this boss. I ended up doing the ludicrous thing of standing where I knew the crystal would spawn. And just waiting, you know, you're safe there. Like nothing's going to get you there. Just standing there waiting for the crystal to spawn because I'm like, it's about due.
Yeah.
And then smashing it so she couldn't do anything.
Yeah, so she wouldn't undo your progress through this very, very long fight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after fighting this boss for the length of time it takes to watch a Simpsons rerun,
yes,
you're finally able to get through. Jeez.
And they save the worst for last.
Yeah.
You get through this, you go to the next room. We find the giant living body of Valdis.
This is news. Cool. Like we thought she was dead.
It's news. The scale is nice.
Yeah.
She addresses us. She says she's the one who sank the ship and brought you there because she can't hold off her daughter much longer.
Right.
She doesn't know where your father is. She sent your father out to retrieve Reyna.
Right.
Who is Valdis's daughter. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And so like Valdis is talking to you and Reyna here is like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, me? You're not the protagonist.
No.
Go sit down, love interest.
Yep. Backseat.
Protagonists are talking.
We'll see how this plays out
when
I play as you.
When I play as the Titty Demon. We'll see how this plays out when I play as the fourth character, Titty Demon.
Yes.
With Rivers Cuomo's haircut.
Oh, jeez. Reyna's the neutral. The neutral daughter. Valdis kind of used her remaining energy to make Reyna, basically understanding, okay, maybe making a good daughter and an evil daughter was bad. Like, what if we just made somebody with potential and they had to earn that? Right.
Yeah.
Like basically, if you earn the power, you will be less likely to abuse it like the others did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. This is, she says, Wyatt, this is what you are. Like, you are meant to serve as armor for Reyna. Because they will just try to destroy her. This is what you're bred for.
Yeah. So that's why Wyatt is half demon and half Goebnu, basically to be a perfect combat machine.
Yep. Yeah. Valdis says, the daughters are fighting over nothing because my power is fading. And when I actually finally die, the shield is going to fade and the city is going to be reclaimed by the ocean.
Yeah. So those people you saw, they dead.
Yeah. Yeah. We did not talk about True Anemone. Did you not fight True Anemone?
It's at the end after you do the long climb.
Oh, you're right. It's after the escape. For some reason, I thought it was before the escape.
Mm-hmm.
You're correct.
Yeah, it's at the top at the top of the escape.
So you do a Metroid escape. You do an explicit Metroid callback escape as the city is crumbling.
Yes. This was fine. It's not especially difficult, except I accidentally did a cancel in the middle of a jump, which meant that I stomped all the way back to the beginning.
Cool.
With like 20 seconds left to get to the top.
Sweet.
Yeah.
When you get to the top, you fight the worst. You thought we fought the worst boss in the game.
Yes.
There was time still for True Anemone. So it's hard to describe exactly how much this sucks.
Yeah.
I think this is a really bad boss fight.
Yeah. So lots of HP, very few opportunities to actually do damage to this.
Yes.
And you have to do a lot of set dressing to even make her vulnerable. And everything that you do to, every step that you take can basically be undone. Like it's on an incredibly short timer.
She can heal. This is, she takes a big background sprite.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea is that she is constantly shooting like beams in from all directions, like little projectiles are coming in from everywhere. And then she has tentacles, and you hit these tentacles, which causes them to kind of like take a knee.
Yeah.
Like,
they flatten out and turn into a platform.
Turn into a platform.
Yeah.
And then you climb up and hit her in the face enough to where you go into her second phase where she's vulnerable. She creates two big arbitrary firestorms off the right and left of the screen that you can't go into.
Yeah.
And then sends out beams that you can reflect into her face.
Yeah, it's like these like flying magical seal kind of things.
And roughly repeat this 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Like she has so much HP.
Mm-hmm.
Your opportunities to kill her are so limited.
Yeah.
Eventually she starts on the right and left creating this big crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And the crystal will heal her. I believe.
Yeah.
Unless you kill it fast enough. It eventually became a priority for me.
Oh yeah.
Because I did not want all of my work to be undone because my work was taking 1,000,000 years.
Yeah.
Like this really sucks.
Yeah, it's incredibly demoralizing. To just to attack something and see how little damage you do in relation to the rest of it, and understand that, okay, it would be one thing if each attack just did that little. It's a completely other thing that you have to do all of these steps to even get to the point where you can do that little shred of damage. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's just like this prolonged endurance test, of playing, without taking damage so you can figure out, it's not actually that hard.
Right.
Which almost makes it worse,
mm-hmm.
In this weird way, because it just means that like, okay, I can avoid most of this stuff. I just have to go through these tedious steps.
Yes.
Like over and over again. It's very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Like I found this boss very frustrating.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Once you get through this, you fight, you beat it. There you throw the seals up into the face. We get the ending, and in the ending, Wyatt is overpowered by his demonic side very briefly, just to do the killing blow
right
on an enemy. And they make it to the surface. Wyatt gets chastised, by his loss of control, and he he chastises himself, resolving to protect Reyna forever.
Yeah, because he understands that they have the ability now. They've got what they need to bring the war to an end. That Algeth and Morgado are not going to be reigning supreme for long. Every
time I read the Morgado, I kept thinking of the Delgados, like Algoth and the Delgados.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Valdis' story, which I really wish ended with a way stronger streak.
Oh yeah, like in a game that like all of the boss fights have been good up to that point, or most of them have been good and interesting. To have them like step on 2 rakes in a row, and have those rakes block you from the ending, it's really disappointing, right? To see you fell off like at the worst possible time.
It's not necessary,
right,
to have done it that way, I feel like. And it's even just down to the narrative stuff that's happening, like there's not we're not going to keep spending time here with these characters.
No,
like they talked about on their website, like doing more stuff with these characters and this kind of transmedia property, but like this feels like such a weird middle chapter of something. Like this sets something up.
Yeah,
like now we have Reyna, the goddess's daughter, and Wyatt, the perfect genetically engineered knight, to a sister, also a titty demon and a nerd with a gun. And the 4 of them are going to like, go through and do like stop this war. But it's like we took this little sidestep into this underwater city that like at no point felt underwater.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like made up by an AI in some weird way. Like it's not very cohesive, I think.
Yeah.
As an experience. And like, as much as I really liked the fights in this game, I liked fighting. Even like after a fashion, like the character build system, even though I didn't like how the economy fed into it. So it ended up being like sitting down and looking forward. Like the thing this makes with Axiom Verge, the difference for me, and you don't have to be on the same page, and nobody listening to this has to be on the same page. Axiom Verge, when I think about it, I would want to play it, but I would sit down, and then when I was playing it, I would not want to. This, when I would think about it, I would not want to play it, but when I sat down with it, I was actually like having fun moving around.
Yeah.
But neither of which ended up being like great. Like they're both very seriously flawed to me. Like neither of which is a unrestrained slam dunk.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. So, I don't know that I have an awful lot to add in terms of in terms of like final summations. I feel like I've praised the things that I need to praise. I agree. This does feel really really good in your hands when you're fighting. And you're doing it quite a bit. You're just not doing it enough. I think that just like as a whole, the lack of cohesion is a really important thing to point out with this. I think
it's very incohesive, and it is full of like, this might be, I can't remember what the other game was, but there's another game that we talked about for the show where I was like, this might be the objectively sloppiest thing that I actually like.
Yeah.
On this, because I do like this game. I'm glad that I played it.
Yeah.
It's really sloppy. Like it is really weirdly like, not super coherent in storyline or economy. It's very messy.
Yeah.
And but I still ended up liking it. It has kind of like a shaggy charm to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I actually, it's not very long. Like I would recommend people who like character action or Metroidvania check it out. But set your expectations appropriately.
Yeah.
I think.
It's at the very least, it is an unexpected combination of elements specifically in the play that I think is worth looking at and paying attention to. I'm happy that I played it. I had no idea about this until Tara talked with us about it PRGE.
PRGE, yeah.
Yeah. So like it's good. I kind of want to like playing this just kind of made me want to play Beautiful Joe again, actually.
It did for me, even though the last time I tried that, I bounced off it pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this is actually the level of fussy combat mastery I want, even though I don't like the grading bit. Because this is not nearly as hard as Beautiful Joe.
Yes.
Like Beautiful Joe grades you and is also incredibly demanding.
Yeah.
I think that the triumph, or like the best thing that Valdis story does, is that even though it has that shitty kind of poor like reward structure, it really does kind of, you can have fun at all skill levels.
Yeah.
And that is something that I've discovered is really necessary for character action. Like, I don't want to try to like beach myself up onto a bar like a whale and get over it. I want to be able to be kind of sloppy and still make forward progress.
Yeah.
Which I could do in this. I could do that in God Hand.
Yeah.
I had a much harder time doing that in Bayonetta. I had a much harder time doing that in Sekiro. Like, I think I want to be able to play kind of shitty and get to the end and barely make it and have that be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
You know?
Yeah.
So, decent game.
Yeah. And, you know, like, so like this is never a mitigating factor, but the fact that it was made by, so it cannot be a mitigating factor for like the analysis of this as a product or as a work. It is impressive that two people made this. This is very big and very complex.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, really impressive work.
Yeah.
In that respect. Same thing with Salt and Sanctuary, right? Which like I put this is basically the same kind of tier.
Yeah.
You know, Salt and Sanctuary is like way longer, but they're both games that I have some fun with and have huge problems with. But also made by really small teams in a way that is impressive.
Yeah. You know, it's worth an attaboy at least for that, even if, you know, the things that were problems were still problems. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have anything to say about this, hit us up by March 15th at Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yes.
Also, if you have anything to say about Axiom Verge or The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. I'm imagining we're going to get a lot of people writing in about Ocarina of Time. I want to take this opportunity to put out a little reminder. We tend to favor kind of comments that are a little bit more brief. Just in terms of, you know, like brief and specific, I think are what we're looking for primarily with those. Brief, specific, and novel. You know, we do edit those down. Just if when you are writing it, you can say like, yeah, 2 paragraphs is good. That will make our job easier, and it will, I mean, for your sake, it will reduce the likelihood that we cut out something that might be important to the point that you're making.
Yeah,
so,
specificity is hugely important, actually.
Yeah.
So like, you know, what I would like to avoid for that is just reading a dozen reviews of Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Like I don't think that's, you know, that's something you can find everywhere. I think that a really, you know, a better thing would be like, hey, the first time I played this, I had this memory, or you know, this specific part stuck out to me because it made me feel this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like specificity, hugely important for this stuff.
Yeah.
The month after that, we're doing Luigi's Mansion.
We're doing Legend of Grimrock 2.
Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
And
then
Wolfenstein:
The New Colossus.
Yeah, that is our that is the premium episode for that month. Just like Ocarina of Time is the premium episode for this month. You can get a hold of all of those by being a patron.
Yep, which we recommend. It's a good ass time.
Yeah.
You go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, get a bunch of bonus stuff, tons of bonus shows, too much stuff to list. But if you go to $5buckducks.com or $10buckducks.com, you can get a big list of everything you get those respective tiers.
Yes. And we thank everybody who has done that so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's about it.
I think so.
Yeah. So we appreciate you. And we will, until next time, what should people watch out for, Cole?
They should watch out for Wyatt. Walks around farting all the time, all those dots.
The shirtless farter has logged on to Under the Sea. I just like it.
The shirtless farter has logged under.